Now this is the back of our MPC X, and right here we have inputs 1 and this is 1 and this is 2. Input 1 and 2. Now here you can plug your microphone in. These are XLR jacks, but also you can use a 1/4 inch in here as well, which fits right in there. So it's a combo jack right here. And normally I put microphones in here, maybe 1 and 2 mics, or if I have a turntable that has XLR output, I'll pull it up in here. Now, next to it here we have input 3 and 4, left, and here's right. And so these are definitely 1/4 inch jacks inputs right here. And right here we have RCA inputs, right? And so you would ground your turntable here. Turn this grounded there. And then here, I can flip up the phono for my turntables, or if I'm just using a line in here, I would just go line in, directly in for a line in. Now right here we have our main output. This is our left and our right output. Now this output I would normally put into my monitors. So if I've got monitors inside the home or my little studio, I put my monitors right here. Now next to that we have outputs 3 and 4, 5, 6, and 7 and 8. This all depends on what you want to output from your MPC. You would designate these outputs for different, I guess, mixes or subgroups I would send out of here. Now right here we've got our MIDI out. So we have A, B, C, and D. I can have 4 separate MIDI outs. I can go, let's say, a keyboard, another drum machine. I can go to a mixer. I may want to go to another sequencer. I can use these outputs for that purpose. I have 2 MIDI ins. I could be using a MIDI in from another drum machine or a MIDI in from another keyboard to trigger sounds or to play samples, or just record the MIDI data into my MPC and then play it back through a specific program. Now above that we have our CV gates. Now the CV gate is an analog method of controlling synthesizers, drum machines, and I guess other similar equipment, but it doesn't use MIDI. It uses voltage control. If you're familiar with that, you have 8 separate CV gate accesses right here. Now right here we have some MIDI inputs here. These are actually outputs. These are MIDI outputs. I would use a typical compact flash card. I come right here also, and this is my MIDI output to my computer. So I'll plug this in there, and that's a MIDI output to the computer. Here I can save data to a flash drive. Here's 1 and 2. So I can pull out a compact flash card. I've got one right here, and I would just pop that in there, and I can save data to it. So we have here, this is our power input, and of course you get this with your, let me grab this cable first and put this cable to the side. You want to come here and sort of like take this out. There's a special reason why you want to do this. You want to sort of protect the device from any sudden pulls or jerks, and you sort of mess up your jack there. So this piece comes off here. That's the piece right there. So I'm going to take this piece here. I'm going to put it around the end of my power input. So you'll see it right here. Let's pull this up, make it easier. Like this right there. Put it on like that. That's good. Then I'll go back to here again, but first, make sure I can plug this in. Like that. I don't want to do that, so we'll pull it down further. I want to make sure I can at least bring this cable to right there, which is good. I'll put it like that. I'll grab the part I want to screw back in here. I'll come here and screw this back in. Let me get this right. Whoa. And there you go. So now, if I pull on this, it will not mess up my input jack here for the power. Now there's one thing else I want to show you here, one more thing here, and that is the back of your flip up screen. I'm going to sort of like pull this out. So let's get this out. There you go. Now once you get it out, you come to here, and there are notches right here. that you can use and set it up to a certain notch height and leave it there, and see, once you get it there, it stays right there. I can put it down to here and it stays right there. I can bring it down to the very last notch, which is right there, and I can apply pressure, but the screen stays there. So you don't want the screen to crash or bang or anything else. And this is a great way to protect and keep your screen at the same height. Now once you're through with this, you slip it on right here, pop it right back in. Well, here we have the headset, right? And this is the volume for that headset. So I've got a plug here for my headset. This is 1/8 of an inch. We'll pop this in here, and then you can see there's the headset icon known around the world as a headset. And next to that we have here, this is 1/4 inch. You have a 1/4 inch headset, so if you do, you put the cable in there and you control your volume from here. Now next to that, we have, take this out, this is a mix knob. You can see here we have mix, 3, 4, and main, right? So this mix knob is used to adjust the balance between the main and the 3/4 signal in your headset. I may have a different input or different output going in there. Well, I can change that. So for example, main is the signal sent from my main left and right out. 3/4 is the signal sent from the output of 3/4. So I can either go to 3/4 or go to main. And that affects the output of the audio you'll receive in your headset, whether 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch. And this controls the level of that volume. Now right next to it we have our instrument 1, instrument 2. We have this rear input and this front input for 1 and 2, and those gains are seen at the top of the machine. So I can control the gain. For example, I get a bass guitar player coming over here. I want to control the audio gain so I don't get too much clipping coming in from the bass guitar. Now next, here we have a foot switch. Sometimes you'll foot switch. You may have a foot switch to play, start, record, or whatever. You can put this right here, 1/4 inch foot switch here for 1, and a 1/4 inch foot switch input for 2. I can come here to the SD card slot, grab my SD card right there. Got a Toshiba. Love the Japanese cards. Pop it in there, and bam, I'm ready to go. I can save data to that card. That card's 64 gigabytes. I can save a lot of data to that card. And when you first turn it on, you get this sign here, MPC X. It's right there. It's our MPC. As the software loads up. And now, the first thing you're going to see right here is this. Select the demo. So you want to go to demo first. See here, select this demo. You can come here too. You click that there, that I sign, and this page allows you to load a demo project to get you working quickly with your MPC. In this case, we're using an MPC X. It can be turned off on customized to include templates and recent projects. Do this in Preferences, Projects, Default tab, all right? So press OK right there. So for example, I can come here and load in Techno, and Techno loads our progress bar. It loads, and we're in. If I come back here to Home, you want to look for Preferences. So we go to here, Project Default, New Project. I can come into here and look for the project I have available. In this case, it says Demo, right? So I'm going to hold this down, and now I can load a template. Move the cursor down to here, and I can use Demo Template Recent. So whatever recent project I've loaded up will load, right? I can select this. Now I can cut it off. I'm going to cut it off. So I turn the off button. It says here, do you want to shut down your MPC? I'll select the shutdown right there. And now it's shutting down. I'll turn it on again. And of course, it's loading. It's loading up, we'll see. And it's changed now. I can select a current project or clips, audio tracks, clips, pop. I can go here to future house. So there are other options here available, and I can go to my most recent template. This is a way to load other projects, or if you're working with a project, you can select what you want to load when it turns on. I'll turn this thing on here. Oh, cool, we got some audio output. Cool, we have some audio output. Now, right here, this knob is my record gain for inputs 3 and 4. So I can control the gain right here. Obviously it's stereo, because it's 3 and 4. This is the master. Turn this knob to adjust the volume of your main output. So if you have some stereo monitors that you're going to use, this will control the output to them. Now next here we have our gain 1 and our gain 2. Now these are for 1 and 2 inputs. Now you notice here I can turn these switches here and go to rear, and those are the rear inputs right there. Now sometimes when I'm sampling records, particularly older records, they're going to have a different stereo field than today's records. Sometimes there'll be more guitar to one side, bass to the other. So if you're aware of that, know how to adjust your gains if you're going to sample from older records. Also here, I can turn these switches here and go to the front. There are also front inputs on the front of our MPC X. I can use those inputs, and then these are switched to gain 1 and gain 2 for the inputs on the front of your MPC. Now here we have 48 volt phantom powering. Now some mics require that, particularly condenser mics. You need to add some power so you can get quality audio input. You need to do that. Put that switch up, and you now have 48 volt phantom powering. Now here, this is our direct. So we have stereo and mono. Now currently in the background you're hearing my headset, so if I turn this here, this is from direct, or direct input. And then this is the main. Now here, let me turn this machine on. Here you'll notice that we have this rec arm. This is record arm. And press this button to arm or disarm the recording in the sampler or the looper. So if I do that, I'm able to actually start recording if the looper is on or not. Now, next here, I have read or write. And this is for automation. So if I'm reading back the automation within the MPC software, I'll select that. I'm going to read it back. If I want to start writing automation information, I'll select it again, and now it turns red from green. If I don't care about running the automation at all, I'll just come to here, hit that again, and now, as you can see, it's grayed out. Pretty simple. Now also we have mute and solo. So here, I would mute what's ever seen right here, this little strip right here below my meters. And I can also solo it as well. And you'll notice here on the monitor, so I press the mute. You don't see the mute, but you will see the solo. Now usually when I actually do the mute or solo, it will be the current selected program. In this section here, I've got transport. I can do input of data here as well. We got F key, tap tempo. We got our main to track. And we also have data entry with our knob here, plus and minus, and also here with the numbers and an enter button and a plus and minus here. So basically, it's pretty easy. This is erase. You press erase, your screen will show you what you're erasing from the selected item in the menu. Pretty simple stuff. This is do and undo, or do and redo. Now, you'll notice there's red lettering underneath some of these buttons. And so if I hold down Shift, I'm able to redo. In this case, I'm able to delete. Hold down Shift again. Here, it's Master. So if I tap tempo now, I'm tap tempoing that sequence. But if I press down Shift And tap tempo now, that's the master tempo for every single track I make up on my MPC X. Pretty simple stuff. This is for note repeat. I want to hold this down, I select a note, it repeats. And sometimes I want it to latch, so I go here, shift, latch, and then I can just pick notes I want to repeat. I go back here, it's not latched anymore. Pretty simple. Now next, right here, this is the F key. Once I select the F key, right there, I select the F key. Now, these 6 buttons correspond to what's on my display, which I'll show you next. But first, I want to explain more about our data entry and our transport section. So, these are numbers, of course, obviously, 1 through 9, and 0's right here. I may want to put a negative or positive data input to that number. Happens right here. Once I select that number, I just press enter, and it's in. This is my cursor, up and down, left and right, and then enter right here. I can enter here or enter here. It's my data wheel. Make it easier, rather than putting the data in, I just turn the knob, select I want to turn the knob to. It could be selecting a different program, a different drum sound. Pretty simple stuff. If I want to go slowly, I can go plus or minus. Okay, so here's my overview of my MPC X, of course. And I want to talk about now is the Q-Link section. So this is the Q-Link here, and this is really invaluable. This is a great way for us to work within project, program, pad scene, pad parameters, and our screen controls also. And also, if I wanted to edit, I just come to here and I press shift, and I'm in edit. That's really cool. Makes it easier for us to do. Now here once I'm in project, and I'm in screen control, you'll see with these 16 buttons here, that right above them, we have a display that displays the current edit mode. So for example here, I can do volume and panning here. And then I can do mute on or off. And this is for the project. Now here, I have program, but I can come here also in project, and you'll notice once I hold the button down here that you'll see that information that's on these displays appear right here. The top one is off, so nothing appears here, but that is off. Mute, pan, volume. You'll also see right here this little button right here for Q-Link edit. Now if I select that, you'll now see that I'm in project, which matches this button right here. Those same parameters appear right here. Off, mute, panning, and the volume, right? I can just come to here and select that, and now I'm in volume for right here. And this is all for track 1. Now right here, you can see this is Q-Link 2. This is the data I can actually change. So I can put in audio track, I can go to program, I can go to return right here. So we're back here to MIDI track right here. And then I can change that also. So it's kind of easy to do because you have the ability to select the Q-Link knob you want to select, and then here you can change the data for that knob. I can go back here, I'm at my original knob, and I have my data here for the master outputs and the parameters volume. So I come to here, I could come to here and change this. I'd come in, I would see volume, I click on volume right there, and now I have volume again. And so you see it again right here. Now, besides just pressing my Q-Link buttons right here, I can also do that on my display. I can come here to program, and now you see this? That changed the program. If I come here and go to pad scene, you now see a different pad scene. And the same thing also applies. I select a Q-Link knob, I can come to here and change the parameters for that knob. And it gives me all the available parameters that I can change. I can come here to pad parameters. I can select a Q-Link knob. In this case, you can see I'm on knob number 5, which is this one right here. Then I see the parameters I can change for knob number 5. The mixer, the program, the parameter here is level. I can also come here and just double tap this. and I see all the parameters I can change for Q-Link knob number 5 when I'm in pad parameters. I can come here to screen control, and now I can change anything from my screen control. And you'll see here, nothing much there, but watch as I can go out of this actually, and I want to go back to menu, back to main, and now you'll see this light up totally here. And this gives me all my screen controls. That means whatever I see here on my screen can be controlled. Here I have the BPM. This is the bars. If I have a loop, it goes from bar 1 to bar 2. This is the start, and this is the end. This is a current track. So all the data appears here, but I can just change the data from right here from my Q-Link setup. Okay, so I want to explain a few more things here, and this is going to be full level. This is full level. I hit the drum pad. Oh, that's pretty loud. In fact, let me go back. I've got the wrong screen set up here. Let's go back. And I want to look. There we go. Let's go backwards again. Here we go. Okay, good. So I want to explain here, this is full level. And I'm going to hit the pad, and that's full level. And I'm turning full level off by just hitting that full level again. And now, if I just tap the pad lightly, I get one level. I strike it harder, I get a full level. Pretty simple stuff. And sometimes you just want to have a lower set of levels. So I will come to shift, press shift down, then I will go here again to full level. The words below say half level. Click that. And now no matter how hard I hit it or how soft I hit it, it gives me that half level right there. Right? And that's half level. And that's set to about 64 velocity. Rather than the full 127, it's set to 64. Now, here, turn it off, we also have 16 levels. Now, 16 level works on the basis that's going to divide whatever parameter I suggest into 16 levels. So, for example, now we're in velocity. So, this first velocity is pretty low. No matter how hard I hit it, it's going to always be at velocity. Pad 16 is full velocity. No matter how hard I hit this one, it will still be that same velocity level. So I'm going to tap each pad, and you'll notice the level increases all the way to the top. That's velocity. Let's go to tuning. This is tuning. A chromatic scale. And here we go. This is filtering. That's filtering. It's layers. If I have layers in, the layers in. This is the attack, the amount of attack. So the strongest attack is 1. The least attack is 16. Next we have decay. Of course, when you have a sound, there's that attack when you hit the drum. And then there's that sustain. And then it decays, no matter what it is. It could be a trumpet, a horn, or a vocalist. That first note's there, you hear the note, and then somehow it decays off to the next note, or just decays off totally, of course. Now, you don't hear this too well here that much because it's a short note. But a louder note with more sound to it would be different. So, for example, let's say I go back into here, and we're going to leave 16 levels, and we're going to we'll go back to here. I selected this note here. And you hear the decay happening. And there's a decay there. So, in 16 levels, I can do velocity, tuning, filter, layer, attack, and decay. To leave it, it's pretty simple. You're going to press close right here, and you're done. You're out of it. Now, of course, we have a bunch of banks. The classic Akai MPC thing, right? And right here, this is A bank, B bank, C bank, D bank. I'll press shift, and I've got E, F, G, and H. Pretty simple stuff. I get back to here so I can have unlimited sounds, a lot of tracks, a lot of data going on through my entire system. And this is our new MPC X. So, we're going to get started now. I'm going to show you some more on the inside of your MPC and the software. Okay, so here is our transport section right here. And here we have locate. I press this button here, I'm in locate. And what locate allows me to do is to locate anything pretty much on that particular track. And so here I can go to the end of the track if I want to, or I can go to the beginning. And this normally is in terms of bars. And I can also change that too as well. Go from this bar to the last bar. And then here, when I have locate depressed, I can go through events. So each event and its step, I can start from right here. So I can keep tapping this back to the beginning, to the very first event. And then that very first event, I'll see whatever. It could be a kick drum or a snare be there. The next event could be a guitar or some other sample or sound that'll be there. So this goes in steps to that event. Now right here we have our record, overdub, stop, play, and play start. So I play start, I play from the beginning of that sequence. If I play here, it'll play from wherever I left off at. So if I left off at a certain place in the playhead, and I press play, it'll automatically play from where it was left off at. Now if I want to record over an entire sequence, I would just press record, and then it would activate record and play, and that would erase whatever on that sequence. At the same time, I could record to that sequence. But if I want to keep what I have and just overdub, I can just come to here, select overdub, and now I keep what I've got, and I can add to the sequence. So here I'm loading up my MPC again, and now we're going to create a brand new kit. So we're loading up here, and once it does, it finds my computer. And here, of course, if I want to go to standalone, I press here, and I'm in standalone mode, but I want to be in controller mode. Here we are, blank, empty screen. And what we want to do now is we want to sort of like load up, create our own kit right here in program 001. Now, when you start your MPC X and the software, this is what happens. You get an empty project right here, right? It's empty. So I want to go here to browse. I'll press the browse button. I'm right there in browse, right? And wow, look at this, I'm already in the sun. So I go to browse right here. And now I'm in browse, and I can look through here and pick sounds. What's the sound I want to use, let's say? Okay, I want to go there to load, and now that sound is loaded into my sample pool. I go here to assign, and now it's already right there. It's right there, right? I can clear that pad. I don't want it there. I want to put something here. So I'll take this sound, and now it's right there. So by just clearing the pad, I can select any pad I want to select and place that sound there. Hit it, it's there. Hit this here, it's there too. I can come to here and clear that pad. Now it's just here on that pad. So now I can assign sounds to all the pads by just filling up my sample pool. I go back to browse. I'm here in sample right there. I can find other sounds I want to use. Let's get that sound, load that up. It's loaded in. I go back to assign samples. It's right. That's it there. I come to here. I want to load it there. The same sample, got the wrong one. I go to here. Put that one there. And they're right there. So I could not see which one was here, the 808 or not, but it's obvious now what is the right sample. I want to fill these pads up with samples, and it's pretty easy. Now, once I do, then I just want to go in and name the program. So I'm still picking out some sounds here, like that one there. Let's load that one up. Get that one too. So we can fill up our little kit going on here. Ooh, that's not bad. And we want to find a few more sounds. Nice ride cymbal there. We already got some hi-hats. Well, we got tons of hi-hats here, which is kind of cool. Just like scroll through sounds. We find a few more kick drums. That's a nice kick drum there. Another kick drum there. And we're just getting some sounds here we can probably use. Pop that in for the kit too as well. Get that one there. That's not bad. That one too. So we got some sounds to go back to assign. I've got all these sounds right here I can assign to the pads. So I can come in here, I can look at the signs. They're also based on the list I think I had. Yep, they sure are. So I can come to here, put that sound there, come to here, put that sound here, come to here, put that sound here. So look, we got some samples. Plenty of sample sounds, so you can create your own kits. Okay, I've got all these sounds. I want to name the program. It's pretty simple stuff to do. I'm going to go back to menu, then I'm going to go here. It says main. Menu, then the main. Here I'm in main again. We see here in the drum program, we have program 001. But first I want to get to here. Go to here, bam. Select that. I can change the name. I'm going to call this, and put a space bar on this test kit. Right? I'll press do it, and now it appears right there. You can make and name your own kits. It's that easy. So now what I want to do is I want to create a drum sequence. And what I want to do is load a kit this time. The last video, of course, we actually created a kit. But there are some really good kits you can find in the MPC drum content. So let's find that. I'm going to go to Browse now. Now here in Browse, I've got a kit selected already. So let's blank this out of here. And here I'm already in this MPC Factory Content expansion pack. And what I want to do here is look for kits I want to use, right? So generally I'll come in here and I'll look for some kits or groups, and I don't see much in there. This is all programs. So I'm going to go back out, so I'll go back to here. And you'll see here on top, it'll tell you where you are, which folder you're in, and what's going on in that folder. So here's the drum kits here. I can select that. I'm in there. Let's go back to here. Go to Legacy. I'll select this, and here I'm in Legacy. And we see all the older MPC kits and programs that came with it. So I want to go down to the MPC 500. I'll open this up. And if I'm looking for a kit I think it's worthwhile using, I can also search it. So you can come here to search directory. I'll select that, and I'll come here and I'm going to put in hip hop kits. Let's see if you can find it. And there you go, it found it. So you can see I can find a kit, also find out the name of it. In case you got a lot of programs, it'll find that program. I'll select load right here, and now it's loading up the kit. So we've got the kits loaded in right there, right? So I want to go back here to menu, and I'm going to go back here to main, and I can see here in the program I have hip hop kits selected. So my program is ready and I have a blank track. So what I want to do here is go to grid here, and here's where I would see it. I want to set probably how many bars it's going to be. So in this case, I'll keep it just 2 bars. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. And you can see the beats and the bars here, bar, beats, and the ticks. These are the bars here. This is track 1. And here along this edge, this is the bank. So this is 1A. So A01 to A16. This is pad 1, pad 16, and the A bank. So I can use those notes. Now what I want to do is get a tempo. Sometimes you're not sure if your tempo, so what you can do, you can tap your tempo in. So in this case I can say, let's see. So I tap that in there, and then I can play it back. But in order to hear it back, my tempo that is, I want to go back to home. I want to make sure this metronome is on. See this metronome's on here? And so what I want to do is make sure what's enabled is the record and play function. So I'll come right to here. And I can see that here. It's either off or in play or record. So I have it in record and play that I will be able to hear the metronome. So let's tap out of that. I'll press play start. And now we hear the metronome. I can practice. Now I want to make sure my quantized value is correct too as well. So here I am. I've got the sequence set up. I want to go back to my grid value here, and I can see we're set for the proper quantize. Here it says 16ths right there. So right there it says 16ths. Let's go back up here. Go back to A. There we go. And now we're set for 16th notes. So I can press record. And once I press record, you'll notice, of course, that the lights will be blinking for record and play. And I can press start. And it starts to record. If I hit the pad, it'll start recording something. Now I'll press stop here. I'm going to go back into the home again here. And here we're going to go back to metronome. Now sometimes in metronome you want to have a counting. That means you want to have maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, and then start, right? That's our counting. So I'll come to here also, and I can have a counting and record. And now I have a counting for record. And so I'll close out of this. I'll press play again. Now I'll press record and press play. And you notice it just started. Let's start again. I press record, got to play again here, and I'll press play start. 2, 3, 4. So now I've recorded something in. You'll notice also that once you start recording, you've recorded something in, and it goes to the end of the sequence, your light for record cuts off, and then it goes into overdub. I have the ability now to overdub or add stuff on top of it. If I were to go back and start recording again, it would record over that same sequence. So I can even practice here. I took off the record. I can put the overdub back in to record. Overdub on to record. Turn overdub off. I can practice. I can use no repeat. I hold down no repeat. I can select eighth notes. I'm able to record the eighth notes. I'll hit overdub, hold the pad down, then I'll hold down note repeat. And you can hear it's recorded in. I'll take off the overdub. That's done. Just put in the snare drum. Now I'm going to record this in. I select overdub. I select overdub again. And now you've got that in there. The extra bass drum. Now, let's say I don't like that. I want to add something else. I can come back in here and I can do the undo. Let's do undo. Well, let's go back to grid first. And here in grid, you can see what's going on. Let's do undo. Undo. I go back to grid here. And you'll see, let's go back in here. I can also come in here, select erase. I can erase something. I can also come in and write something right there. If I don't like that, I can undo it. It's gone. I can come here also and say I want to do more than, see this whole, I can do like this with my finger, right across the edge there, press playback. And now I'm recording a part just using my finger, right here on my display. If I don't like it, I can press undo, it's gone. We'll press play start again. I can select individual notes I want to get rid of. I can come to here and select a range of notes. This range I want to get rid of, right? I'll do that. I can press stop here. I can come to here and erase these off of there. That's the range I don't want to have at all. Just get rid of all those notes. So you can see we can actually do undo. We can write notes by selecting the pen. We can come here and select the eraser. I can come here also and I can select a certain number of edits to events I want to edit. So you'll notice also while I was actually recording that this number here changed from 16 to 8. And that's because when I went to note repeat, you'll notice here at the bottom of our display, there are different note values, from quarter notes to 64th notes, and then you can change the triplets as well. So I was here, and you notice that the values now, or actually the grid changes also along with my changing the time correction. So in this case, I'm 16th notes, and you'll see we have 4 beats, or 4 divisions, subdivisions of every beat. And I can go to 30 seconds, and you'll see it changed again. And I can do 64ths too, and it changes again. You really can't see that here on the screen, but you can see it in your computer as that changes. Now in this case, if I go to 16th notes, and I come in and write something in, let's say, let's try to put this one in there. I come here, I'm just going to do this here. I'm going to just drag right across this one here. I'm going to do the right, and then I'm going to drag right across it here, across to the top, across over, and that changed. If I press note repeat again, I go to 30-second notes. And let's say I want to get rid of this. So I'm going to go here to erase, and I'm going to erase all this off of here. And it's all gone. Now I'm going to right. I'm going to right here. I'm going to write them in. 30-second notes. I'll play it. Okay. You get the point. So I'll erase. Almost gets a little hard when you have so many notes there to erase. There you go. So they're all going now. I can play it from the top again, and they're going. So we can change the value of the notes that we want to record within the sequence by changing this timing correction. Now here in our grid mode, I have nudge, edit start, edit end, transpose, and velocity. Let's sort of work with nudge first. So if I'm in nudge, I have the ability to move these events anywhere within my grid. And how this works is once that event is selected, if I go to here, tap it, that event is selected. And then I would just turn the data wheel. As you can see, it's moving. Or I can use the plus and minus buttons under it. Minus sending it to the left and plus to the right. I can move that event. Now this is all based on my grid value. Now, so here we see that this is 30-second notes were set to. So I can move it in that direction. So if I can always change, said before, I can change my value pretty much by just selecting the note repeat button and selecting the value below. So what I can do is press play, even in play, I can change that value. Let's go back to nudge. Go back to here, start, and go back to the same track. We're in track mode, so make sure you don't do that. You want to make sure you're in this actually here. And then what I want to do is sort of like move that snare drum now. See, I'm moving it around. And I can do this while the track is playing. So you can get to audition how that particular event will sound as you move it. Also, I can change the start value. So here we go to edit, and I can use the plus or minus on my data wheel And as you can see, I can extend the start point of that particular note. Now, as you see, it goes right back to here, but I can go to undo right there. I can go to here and do the end as well. I can change the ending of that note. I can do undo, and I'm right back where I started from. And I can also transpose that note. I can come into transpose. I'll play it, keep it in motion here. Matter of fact, I can transpose more than one. Let's select all these snare drums. And then I'm going to move it up. So in this case, in transpose, I'm moving it up to the next pad. As you can see, we're right there. Press stop. And now I have a new snare drum. And I can also change the velocity of any event I'd like to. So here I'm selecting velocity. If I go to right here, we can see velocity levels. Let's make it bigger. And now we can really see the velocity levels. And so I can see the velocity levels of everything. So let's say, for example, these are the snare drums. I want to bring them down somewhat. And you'll notice here, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm bringing the value of those snare drums, their velocities down. I'll play it back from the top again. Now, as I do bring the velocity down, you'll notice the color of the events. And of course, the velocities change. The lower I bring it, it turns to amber at the lowest point. And the higher up, it's at red for maximum level. Sometimes I will hit up here somewhere and I'll be there and all of a sudden everything moves. Like for example, I'll come to here. That's what happened to you too as well. You'll be here, you're looking into something, you're playing back this track and you want to get back to it and you can't. So as you can see right now, as I pull down the velocities, I'm already almost here in B bank. I can't see A1. So I can come to here, and I want to sort of scroll to something. So this helps me zoom around on my system to see where I'm at in the grid mode. So here, we go to the zoom. I want to see where I'm at here in the zoom level, right here. Good. And then, if I wanted to select something now, I go back to select. I would select all these sounds right there. Oops, select all these sounds here. These will be my hi-hats. I'll select those. I'll go to velocity here, bring my velocity up. I want to bring all the hi-hats down. In volume. And now they're down. Or bring them lower. Or up. And this is where I can set the levels of each sound within the kit. Now also I have here don't snap, which means that if I play a note, it won't correct to the nearest value set up by the system when I set my quantized value. So for example, I can come to here. So I'm coming here, I'm going to use that's not even going correctly. It's not even saying, okay, it should be here or there. It's playing it back the way I played it. And that means it's not snapping to the grid. So in case you want to give that human feel to one particular sound, you can use don't snap anywhere. And I can do the undo. In fact, let's zoom back in here. And then I'm going to come here and do the undo. And those sounds are going. I'm going to get rid of my velocity here. And then I'll come back in here again. I'll press overdub, play start. And I recorded it in without the value. I can undo here, go back to snap, and once I do it again, I'll do overdub, play start. So that just out of time because I'm actually in 30-second notes. So know your note value when you actually do this. So in this case, I can come back to here, let's do undo. I'll come back to note repeat. I'll go to 16th notes. Let's make it even worse. We'll go to 8th notes. And now I'll press overdub. I'll press play from the start again. So I played it really different, really off, and it corrected where it was at, totally. And that's how we can use the don't snap to make sure that we can have that human feel, or turn don't snap off and make sure we have that quantized feel from the drum program. Okay, next what I want to do here is sort of show you can actually pinch and zoom in. So I can pinch and zoom out, and I'll sort of zoom into where I want to be in this grid, and I can move it up to, of course, here as I pinch and zoom. As you can see that there. Now I'm hearing this value. Now notice here, as I try to pinch and zoom now, I can't. Here I am, I'm just adding notes here in this case. Let's get rid of that. When I try to touch the screen, I have the pencil tool selected. The erase tool, I would just erase notes if I touch the screen. Here in selector, I can't do pinching. But if I go to here with my magnifying glass selected, I can pinch and zoom in to where I want to be within the grid. Now, before I was showing I can actually change the note repeat values and actually also change my quantized values. You see it here at the top right underneath the track. I can also just press shift. And once I press shift, you'll notice here at the bottom of the grid, you'll see we have TC, cut, copy, paste, mute, and solo. So I can come to here and press TC for timing correction, and we see the timing correction dialog box. Now here in this box, you'll see we have the start, the end point, the length, and legato. And here you'll see right now, my time division set to 8th notes. I can just move the data wheel to select it. I gotta go up here first to get where I want to be at here in this program here, which is right here. I can select it by just tapping it. And as I just tap, I can figure out one bar for my time correction, or just do 16th notes. And here, if I want to add triplets, I do that, and now I have 16th note triplets. Here I'd have 8th note triplets. Here, quarter note triplets. And I can select this for all events or selected events. Just for selected events, or I can select a range. And that particular range I would select would be, let's say, quarter note triplets. I would have the strength, the window, and of course the swing value. In this case, I can deselect that. It's not enabled anymore. And I just want to have 16 note triplets. Once that's done, I can press do it. And here we are. We're right back here with 16th notes. And you can see the grid is up to that value. And I can just come back in here also and sort of get even more here. As you can see here, as I pinch and zoom in, we get not just the A pad bank, but the B, the C, and some of the D bank. And I can also zoom back out, scroll back up. And here, I may just want to just get the A bank. So, and there we go. We have the A bank. That's how we can pinch and zoom and change our time and correct value. What we want to do now is pretty much go back to home. And once you've created your sequence or you started your song, you pretty much want to save it. You don't want to lose anything. And so also, I'm looking here for one thing I want to change, which is this BPM. I tapped it in, of course, but maybe it's not going to work for me. So I can come to here, I'll double click that, I'll tap it twice, and now I have my BPM window open while it's playing. I can come in here and go, and there you go, I'll press do it, and there you go. And I can also come in here and increase it too. I'll press stop, got my BPM. So next, I want to probably save or name the sequence. I can come to here, double tap that. This is the sequence there. And to name it, I'll come right here. I can name it. So I can call this beat. Oops, let's get the A in there. There you go. And press do it. And that's the beat. I can name the track. I'll press do it. The track is named. The kit is already named, right? And so at this point, I like it. The next thing to do is to save it. I've got the sequence done, track renamed, sequence renamed, got my program, and now you want to save it pretty much, right? So to save, you can see here in the bottom it says browse. The bottom, it says save. I can press shift and I can press that button, and now it turns to amber, and I'm hearing to save. Let's leave this actually. And another way to do this is to just go back here to menu. And then here in menu, you'll see this disk icon. You select this, and it gets you there as well. What I do is I come to here. I say I want to save it to call this new beat. And I can press do it. And now I can save that file as that. And I can come in and I'll press save. And now it's saving it. Saving the samples and everything. And I have it saved to the hard drive. Okay, so I've got everything saved already, right? So I have a new track selected here, and I'm going to use the same program for that track. And then I'm going to come back in here and press chord overdub. I've added something to this project. I'll press shift and save, and it saves it right back to that project again. So I can add stuff after I've saved it, and okay, add some more stuff, add some more stuff. And then you want to make sure you keep saving so you don't lose what you just recorded. Now, to find that project, let's say you turn your machine on, you want to load it up, and it's the next day or a couple days later, you want to find it. So you go back here to menu, and then we want to go to browser, right? Or pretty simple, if I was back here again in this part here, I'll just go to browser directly. Here I'm in browser, and then I'll see it right here in the MPC stuff. I get there, and there it is, new beat, under project, the .xpj file. I come right to here, sequence. There's what's in the sequence. Let's see, one sequence is right there. It's one sequence. I come to here, it's the program. I have this program here, which I created, right? The audio, which is nothing right now. And I also have a program here, which is the original program that I have when I turn the machine on. So this program, audio 001 and program 001 are just the files that are automatically loaded into the machine when you actually start up. Then here on the samples, I see all the samples I have loaded in that belong to that project. And this has all been saved to my MPC stuff drive. So we've got our sequence going on here, and sometimes I would like to change the pitch of some drums, maybe add an effect, or even change the panning of a drum, or the overall program. To do that, I'm going to select here, Home, and we're going to go to Program Edit. Now here in Program Edit, I have the ability to change. You can see here on the left-hand side, Master, the pad, Simultaneous Play, and Mute Target. So here in Master, I have the ability to come to here and change the semitones of anything in the entire program. So if I hit, let's say for example, and I'm hitting these pads here, and I take this and I'm going to use my data wheel. Everything is changed pitch-wise. The entire program is changing the pitch of every sample in that program. I can also fine-tune all the samples in that program. And this is, you can barely hear this sometimes, but if you're going to fine-tune to a pitch, it works out really great. And I can also say for pad here, I can choose my pad volume. And then that's lower in volume compared to that, right? I can also change the padding. I come here. Okay, I'll change the padding for that. So I can come here and change anything. This padding here can be changed to here. So I want one go to the right, and this will go to the left. So I can change the padding. What I can also do is change the ability for sound to sound a little bit different and add more sound to that one sound. For example, here is this sound, which is the kick drum. I may want to use that kick drum too. I want to change that sound. So what I'll do is I'll hit this sound here, which I know it says pad A1. I'll move my cursor over here to this simultaneous play. And here I can add 4 different sounds. So here in simultaneous play, I can scroll up. I know I want to use the sound on pad A13. And now you hear them both play at the same time. I can go to here. There's A14, A15, A16. So I can take any pad and play at the same time with the original. And I can add more. If I have a lot more samples, I can keep adding them in. I can add the 4 different pads. That works like great when you got a pretty big program. I can also come to here and get rid of sounds. Take this back to the original sound it was. I can come here to mute a sound. Now a classic mute would be hi-hats. That's my hi-hat. And the one I would like to cut off or mute would be the open hi-hat. So this is a close. That's the open hi-hat. See that one? So as you can see, it's already been selected here. All right, right there is A6. A6 is that sound. And I come to here. I'm tapping this one. So if I hit A6, it cuts it off. If I hit A6 and let it sustain and decay, it cuts off by itself. So the hi-hat opens and then closes. But if I come to here, and I'm cutting them off and playing the other one all in one motion. It's pretty cool. So for example here, if I can come in and record the hi-hat. Now you got it. And so now you can see it's cutting that hi-hat off. I can also add effects. So let's go here to effects. And I can add effects to any sound I'd like to. And so let's say we want to add an effect to this sound. I already have an effect on it. See that? I already added an effect to it. And it's pretty simple. Let's sort of get rid of this effect. It's gone. I'll come in here, grab that sound. I'll select this here. Then I'll turn my data wheel. And now I'm going to scroll down to the effect I had before there, which is this delay. I'll put this delay in. And now I can also edit that delay. You see it's set for 1/8 notes. Here we have the ratio, left to right. The dampening of the feedback which is 40%. And our mix value is at 50%. So I can come in here and say I want to play that sound. I'm going to overdub play. And so now it's playing in the system. I can come back here and change it from 1/8 notes. I go to 16. Let's try something else. As you can see, we can change it. I'm changing the value of that delay while the beat's playing. So it's a great way to sort of check out, see how that delay would actually sound or any effect you would use when you're trying to see if it'll work in the program. And that's how I can add an effect within the program. These are some of the features that you can do, but of course you can do samples. You can change your samples, reverse them. You can do panning. We can do filter and envelope actually. And here we can do LFO modulation too as well. Okay, so now I've got a beat here. It's set up and ready to go. And what I want to do next is sort of add a new program. So we're going to go to a new track. And here we're in track number 2, which you can see at the bottom here we have program 001. Now if we go back to track 1, you see where you have a program called Hip Hop Kits. So this is a brand new program. So what I want to do now is make this a keyboard program. So I'm going to come to here. I'm going to select the keyboard icon here in my track view. And then here you'll see it turns to keyboard program. Well, next what I want to do is I have to select the sound, right, to stick in my program. But first, I want to come in here and sort of name this program. So I'm going to come right here. I'm going to call it bass. And press do it. And now it says bass program. Next, we want to select the sound for the bass program. I'll go to Browse, and I already have some sounds selected here in my library. These are actually in my drum content here, my factory content. I'm in drum kits. I'll press enter. I have the audition set up already here for auto audition, a level that I'm comfortable for hearing back these audition sounds. I'll close this out. I can audition that way. I'm just going to scroll down, and there's the bass sound I like. So I want to load this one in. That's loaded in. I'm going to go to the next one below that and load this one in. Get loaded in now. So now what I want to do is I want to go back to the menu, and then I want to look at program. Now here in program, it says bass program already. And from here, now I'm in bass program, I can select my sounds. But I've already pressed sample here. I press sample again, and now I can see layers for my bass program. So usually when I'm doing it with a drum program, I can put them on different pads. But in this type of program, which is a keyboard program, if I put these sounds in, all the pads will be able to play this one sound. So here I want to select the sound to where it's go to layers here. I'll double tap layers. And I want to pick the bass. Here's one bass right there. I'll pick that bass right there. And then I want to come to here, and I want to pick the other bass too as well. And so I have two basses here that I have in the system. And what I want to do is sort of like set them up so they'll play properly. The samplers are in here already, right? And so if I come back to Browse here, and I'm going to go back here to main view, go back to menu, and I'm here, those sounds are on the pads. And now we'll set them up. We're going to turn mute off. Now this is too low, obviously, right? So if I go to D, that's D, and I'm going to go to the back, and I'm going to go up one more level. I'm going to press Shift and go to F. So you see the sounds are there, but A is low, is like 0C. So I want to get up to Shift. I'm going to go to F here, or I go to G. You can hear the sounds there. So now I'm going to go back to program. I'm going to edit this program. So this is the program. That's the bass program right there, you can see. And now I want to go back to edit program. So I'll go back here to this view. I'll go to edit program. And here I want to edit these sounds. So we're going to go back and sort of change the pitch of these sounds. I'll go back to the first one. I think we'll just take this one out actually. Make that none. So the sounds are there. Now I'm going to press Shift, I'm going to press F. So I can see, make a scale of it. And that's the bass sound. Now I can go here again. Let's go to Shift. I'm going to go to E now, E bank. And I've got a bass sound there. So I can also, if I want to, if you want to, you can always come to here. You can change the tuning of your sound. Get the right pitch you want. You can even fine tune that sound here. And you can also increase or lower the level of that sound. I can go back to my main menu, go back to main here. So I can put this in, let's record this into the beat. Got the sound. that's how I can take a sample in as a bass sample and create a key group program. So I've got my bass sound here, and what I want to do next is sort of work with the program, the key group program. So I'm going to go back to my menu, program edit, and here we are, and you can see we have 3 little dots there for samples. And so I'll select this again, and here we can see this is the bass sound, which I can trash obviously, and then I can change the pitch, the fine tune, and the level. And I can hit this again here, and then we have the offset here, and I can have different layers and offset the sample and how it's played. In this case, it's set to 0. That means once I hit the pad, it's going to play that sound right where it's at. Right? So I can also go to here, pan velocity. So here, I can change the panning. Let's play the sound back. And I'll select panning. I can set it to right or to left. Now this is based on velocity start. So when the velocity starts to hit, it will change that. This is the velocity end. So the velocity actually ends in the beginning because we're actually hitting the pad first and then in the velocity end. So if I do this here and I select this and I turn this back by 1, you don't get anything, no velocity whatsoever. It's a very short sample. So I put it back at 127. Now next what I want to really show you is here in the filter section, and here we have a filter for that one sample, and so the filter type here is low. So what I'm trying to do is let only the low frequencies pass through this filter, and there are several levels of the filter type. We have the 1, which is low 1. We have 2, we have 4, 6, and 8. If I go to here where it says high, it's only letting the high frequencies pass through here. And so they're also from 1 to 2 to 4 to 6 to 8. Then here we have our bands. And these are just bands to specific frequencies. This is a bypass filter. And this is 2-pole. So there are other filters here, but primarily for this bass I'm going to use 2. It looks the best for me. You can experiment with what you want to experiment with. So now, what we want to do here is I want to check out some other features here, show you what we can actually do with this sample. So for one, we can also change the resonance in the envelope, which won't affect this sample. It's not really a long sample, it's a very short one. But we can affect the attack, the decay, the sustain, and release. That means the attack, the time it's hit, the decay, from the time that I struck the sample to where it's going to decay, but it must sustain over a period of time, that decay, before it's released. And that's what this ADSR stands for. And that's this filter here. This is for the filter envelope. So here in the filter envelope, let's say for example, I'm playing the sound. You notice that the filter envelope just affects the filter. So not a whole lot of effects as you can see right there, or the decay. Let's go back up here. If I go down to here, this is the amplitude. And so I'm changing the amp, as you can hear there, and then it's dying right there. So the audio is just dying. If I bring it back up to 27, I'm there. I go to here's the decay. I stretch my decay out somewhat, as you can see. And then here we have the release. See, it's got too long a release right there, just to give you a really good idea of what you can do within your program. That's good for me. I'll press stop. Next, I have here my low frequency modulation. And here I have it set to amp, as you can see there. I'm not trying to change the pitch or attack. The pitch has already been set up. This is based on velocity sensitivity. And here's the panning as well, as you can see. And if I get the panning here and I press this, it's panning based on velocity sensitivity. As it struck, it's panning mainly to the left. When I get back here, it's the normal pan I've already set. And now right down here we have the rate. This is the rate at which it's going to oscillate. So here, I can come down to here, play this. I'm gonna get down to here, amplitude. So it's wavering, or rather oscillating the amplitude. I can do the right here filter as well. And you can hear how it's wavering, and the filter is also wavering. That's based on the oscillation value here for the 67 I have set here for my rate. And I can also change that sign there as well. This is sawtooth. This is square. Triangular. But I prefer to have the sign. And you can see it's wavering in time and in sync to the beat. Now, I want you to experiment if you get a chance. Experiment when you actually do create a program to understand more of how this works. We have more lessons on it in our website, of course, at SK Recording School, where we get pretty much in depth about how to deal with the program. But this is very important. This will help you to create some really cool sounds. Now, I can experiment and change the sound even more. Let's put the sync in. Look, if I go to here, that's eighth notes. So it's syncing and wavering in eighth notes for the oscillation. Let's use half notes. I can always change the amplitude. Change my filter. So I give it some sort of feel with that half note. So it has that feel on the half note. Even increase it. I can also go back to my filter. I can change my attack. Matter of fact, let's change the attack. Let's change the release too. And change the sustain. And you can see it gets that driving feel to it because it's actually going in time to the beat. I set it for the half note. So on the first beat and then the middle beat, which would be 3, it's giving a little punch feel to a little exaggeration to the feel. So working with your program to adjust your filter envelope, your low frequency oscillation modulation, and even add an effect if you can. You can add an effect right here. You can maybe want to come in here, you can add a compressor or get even a delay and get some sort of feel out of that one sound. But it's pretty interesting and you can create some pretty cool sounds. Okay, take 2 on audio track. So here we have our system set up with a key group. If I go to this track, here we're set up to view the drum program. This is a key group program. I want to do audio now. Now I want to put audio into this track. And you may want to bring a rapper in, a guitar player, bass player, maybe a keyboard player, bring his own keyboard in. You want to record them directly into the system. And this is how it's done. So normally I'd come in here, I would plug it in, and I might go to this section here. I'd have a gain here, a gain here. I might have a keyboard player left and right. I would sort of, if it's plugged in the front, I would go to front here. If it's the rear, I'd switch this to rear. In this case, it'd be the front. And if I had a microphone and someone's actually singing and something, I had a condenser mic, I'd flip this switch here. I'm in 48 volt phantom powering. It's on. That way, when I'm using a condenser mic, I get the proper level. And once all that's done, I'm ready to record. But I have an audio track here. I can arm the recording, but we want to see actually the channel strip. So I'll select this little icon right there for the eye, and now I'll be able to see the channel strip. Now what we're going to do here is sort of like record directly in, sort of using my voice in this case. And what I have here, as you can see, these are the inputs. So if I had a selected input that I was going to use, I would probably come here and tap this twice there. Then I'd pick my input and I'd say, okay, I'm using 1 and 2, right? Then I'd come back out of here. And now we can see we're in 1 and 2. Then the output would be the output I'm normally using right now, 1 and 2 output, which is the overall master output for our MPC software, and we'd hear it back through that. Now in this case, I have audio right here. Because I'm recording audio in this system as I'm doing the lessons, it makes it easier for me to actually record in. And if I had a real microphone hooked up, besides this computer mic, you would see the levels appear here too as well. And they would also look like they're in stereo. Now, I can always mute this some kind of way, solo it compared to everything else playing. If I didn't have anything playing at all, unmute that. And this is my monitor, so it's monitoring what's coming into the system before I record. And this is what you want to do. You want to monitor the level of the bass, or the level of the guitar, or the keyboard that's being played. You want to monitor that level so it's not above 0 dB here, and you get a really great quality audio sample. So once that's all done, I would normally come in here and go like, okay, I'm in input monitor. That means that once I start recording, it will monitor my audio. If I'm not recording, it'll cut off this mic that I'm playing back, or if I had an instrument playing, it would cut that out. So I'm going to arm it now. And this says that I'm armed, it's ready to go, it's ready to take the sample. It's called arming the sample, or arm recording. Now, we're getting ready to record, so what I'll normally do is I do my MPC, I'll select the record button. And then if you have a rapper coming on or a vocalist, I would always make sure I have the metronome set up for this count in right here, record count in. And since it is on, to give me a record count in. So I'll close out of this. And now I'm ready to go. I'll press play start, and we're going to record directly into this sequence in the audio track. 1, 2, you know what to do. I stop it. I just stopped it, that's it. I'll select edit audio, and now you see that audio file. Okay, so now we want to do song form. So right here, I've got some sequences. I'm playing back. There's one here. There's some sequences I've got directly from my MPC library that comes with your MPC drum content. Okay, so I got these sequences in here. We're going to make a song form. It's pretty easy. Now what I want to do, I want to just press shift here. And then we want to press the button that says on top of it, the next sequence, but below it says song. And now we're in song form. And what I want to do now is I want to insert a part or a section in and select what I want to play in that section. So I'm going to go ahead to insert, and you'll notice here it just gives me the first option it has is this one thing. And what I want to do next, let's sort of zoom in first and get a better view of this here so you can actually see what's going on. There we go. And you can see right here that says DB Kit 4, right? So I come to here, I'm going to turn my data wheel, and I want to get 1. See that? DB Kit 2, and that says number 1 in front of it. That's good. I'll go to insert, and I got my next insert. See, it copied the first thing there. I don't want that though. I'm going to put what I want to put there. I'm going to put in 2. Then the next one, I'm going to insert, I'll put here, and you guessed it, I'm going to 3. And I'll do an insert again. I'll click on this one, I'm going to 4 obviously. And then I'll do another insert here. I'll select this one, I want to go to 5. And this will be my song form. It's pretty simple. I'll select it, I'll see it, And I'll know from here, as I see it in this 16 pad window area, that I see the bars, I see the BPMs of each one of those sequences. Now I can play it back. I'll just press play start. And when it comes to the end, it will stop. And that's it. It's pretty simple. Now, if I want to export this file, that's easy too. I may want to send this file to a guitar player. Yeah, let them come and play some guitar, but first I want to practice to it. So I'll go to export, right here, export. And now we're in the export window. Here you can see it's pretty obvious. This is the audio length, and it's called audio mixdown. Start bar is 1, end bar is 20. That's the length of this entire sequence of this song form. We have audio tail. Now, audio tail has to deal with the idea that if I added some reverb or delay, and this last part plays out and have a delay going on, but the sequence is stopped and the audio is still sort of lingering in the background, I want to make sure I have enough of this audio tail in there so that it does record that when I make this exported mixdown file. There are none now, but be aware of that if you're going to do some sort of mixdown like that. Make sure I have the right outputs, which are stereo outputs 1 and 2. Next we have our master inserts, which are in any effects I have. I want to make sure those are rendered also as well. I can have separate programs, which I don't have. I can save as a project preview, which I won't do. And here I can select my file format. So I'll tap here, I have wave selected. I can do AIFF files, MP3s, FLACs, and an OGG file. No need for those. Wave seems to be the most popular thing today, but I would save an MP3 if I had to for someone who needed that. We also have here a bit depth. So that's the amount of area we can actually squash into this file. That's our bit depth, which I'll keep that at 16. It's standard. And I'll do 44.1. Now you can also do 48. Now 40 is good too as well. 88.2 and 96 are going to be larger files I normally don't use unless someone wants them, but there's no need for that. So we're going to keep it like that. Now, I can also change the bit depth. Let me explain this to you too. I can change it from 8-bit, 16, 24, 32. Now 8-bit's going to have less of that quality to it. So if I want to send something that's going to be not so great, I'll do that. But normally I'll do 16 and 24. And so I want to export it. We're going to export right here. I want to export it to this drive right here, my MC drive. Good, I want to name it. I'll call it test. Let's save this. And I want to overwrite the last time I did that. So I'll press overwrite. And now it's overwriting the file. It's exporting the song. And now that file's there. I can go to browse actually. I can see MPC stuff here. This is set to audition. So as audition is set to auto, I have a level here for the audition level. Let's close that. I'll just tap that. And now it's just going to play back. Now this is a great way for you to check to see what you got. Now in this next lesson, we're going to talk about step edit mode. And here you'll notice, of course, for our main screen, I'm going to press this button right here. As you can see, it's a little graph. And this is our step edit mode. I'm going to press play start. And see for the computer, that we're looking at approximately 2 bars. But you see on top of our MPC X, we're going to see 1 bar at a time, actually. And let's set this bar length here to like 1 bar. I'll press play start. press play start again. Now you see it's one bar because you'll see this little green little line come across here, and that's when it goes past a event, it'll turn that event green, and the lower portion you'll see a little green dot box with a green little line around each box. And that's our playback head. So you can see from here, this is track 1, we're on pad number 1. These are the events for pad number 1. And these events are based on our time division here, as you can see here, at 16th notes. Now, of course, there's one bar here. We have our BPM right here. I can always change this to master if I want to. Master would mean that every single sequence in our MPC X will be playing at this particular BPM. We just want to use the sequence BPM for this purpose. And of course here we see the position of our playback. If I press play start, you'll notice here it goes back to 1 bar. If I go to here, turn my data wheel, I'm in 2 bars. You'll see here, then 2, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2. So the length of our bar and our position of where our playback head is at. Now, what's so cool about using the step edit mode, the ability to place events anywhere. So, for example, I'm going to start doing something here. I'm going to use these little boxes down here, and I'm going to put an event here. I'll put one here too. More here. I'll take this one out. Take this one out. Take that one out. Hey, what's happening? I just hit it down here, right? I didn't hit like way up down and hit it like that. But wherever I hit it, I can change the velocity of that event. Now, of course, this is based on our full level. So to make sure your full level is off or on, I prefer it off actually when doing this. And it makes it a lot more fun. So I can come in, get rid of this event. I'm back to where I started at. I'll press play start. And that's how we put events in step edit. We can also change our time division too. So as you saw before, our time division here, I'll go to, let's say, 30-second notes right there. And you'll notice here it's spaced out further. And now we're only going to see half of that bar, because this means that we see 32 steps for each measure, or each 4 bars. So in this case, I'm only going to see like a little bit of it. That's 4, see that? So let's see, 1 is 1, 2, then I missed 3 and 4. We're just only getting a few of those here. So here we can see only 16 of those events. Now if I move further up the bar then, I'll see the next 16. This is just all the same bar. See that? No matter what, it's all, that's just the first bar there. I can't really move up in bars at all to see more of the events there. So let's go to here. We'll go back to 16th now. We're in 16th notes. And then here you see all the events. So when I'm in 30-second notes, you'll notice that we're going to see these first 3 events. When I'm in 16, we see the first 3 and the last 2 events right there. And that means we have more steps to place more notes in. So I can go back to 30-second notes again here, and I can maybe want to put a bunch here. Now if I do that here, it's going to sound pretty funny. But watch this. Now it's kind of cool for some sort of rolls. I'll press undo, 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 and undo. I'm back to where I was at. I'll hit the time division again. We'll hit 16th notes, and we're back to the same steps. Now the reason why I showed you that, that's a great way for you to actually create rolls, test out your rolls, particularly when you're doing some sort of trap beat rolls or just drum rolls in general. This is a great way to actually go into your software using step edit and implement the step edit divisions, whether it's 16th notes or 30-second notes. I can also go in terms of trumpets too as well. Now the cool thing I want to express about was the ability to go to any pad. So for example, there's a closed hi-hat and an open hi-hat right there. And so it's like all these little pads here, I have the ability, let's say, change their velocity. So I can come in here. If I hit the bottom, I get the full level. But let's say I don't want to do that. Let's go back out of here like this, and I just go to here a little bit. See? we can't do much from that point, right? So I'm going to go in here, pull it down, go to here, and then I'll add a vent, pull it down at the same time. And now, you just can't really just come in here and make an event. I can tap the pads I want to do it with, but here, I can bring, I'm going to put this one up here like this, maybe bring this down a little bit and create some sort of, see that? I got that feel going on with a softer, closed hi-hat, another 2 closed hi-hats, a little louder, and then one that's louder than the other 3. And it gives you a different feel. And this is a really cool way to get this dynamic thing going on between loud and soft, which works for me a lot. I like it a lot. So you can try that too with your step edit. But this is a great way to use step edit to create more intricate drum parts, or just to get the parts right, create rolls, but also you can create different volumes for any step you'd like to. Now to change to a different pad is pretty simple. I'm here in pad select. I just select the pad pretty much. As I select the pad, you'll see the events for that pad. I get here and I just say, no more pad select. Now I'm able to use the pads to put any event down for this 1 bar sequence. I can come here and say, do this like that, and I come here. And you see, I put those events in, I took them out by just hitting the pads. Now next we're going to learn about the sampler. So here's our sampler set up on our MPC X, and you can see there's some audio coming in right there. And that of course is my voice. Now here, this infinity dB, this little red arrow here, is our dB level. So it's our threshold level. And what happens if I don't talk? Let's move this up a bit higher. Now as I talk, you'll notice that it's not going too loud, but once I get louder and loud enough and it crosses that threshold level, the sampler will instantly start to sample. And let's go up here. And I'm not talking loud enough, so if I get really loud, hello, and it starts to sample, we'll see it. So I'll press arm here. And now, okay, it started to sample. See that? Which is pretty cool. And so I want to stop it, I'll press here, and I've stopped it, and we can see we have a brand new sample. I can play it here. And now, okay, it started to sample. See that? Okay, I can discard it or keep it. Let's get rid of it. And now it's gone. And this is our sample mode here. So that's the way I can sample using the threshold level. I can also just press this button here and get ready to go. Once I press this button here, it's sampling already. As you can see, it'll sample for the time I have set for the sample. So we'll stop that. I'll play it here. And here, it's sampling already. As you can see, obviously, let's discard that. It's gone. Now here below the arm button, you'll see it says max length. I can tap here. I can go minutes and seconds, depending on how big a hard drive I have set up for it. And here you can see I can just turn my data wheel and figure out how long I want my sample to be. So in this case, I'll set it for 20 seconds, which is good. And I can also come to here and I can click this monitor and I can monitor the signal coming into the sampler. I can hear it directly through my speaker system and get an idea of how it sounds. Now sometimes, let's turn this off, sometimes when you're actually recording into your MPC X or in any environment and you're a vocalist or a rapper or someone singing or whatever, and they come in there and they're singing or rapping and they have some sort of chains on where they're going to have probably their keys. A girl can have a bracelet that's clinging and jingling earrings, all kinds of stuff in the hair. You never know. And so what I tend to do also is get rid of some of these background sounds or have them remove everything from their body and just start working. What I also do too is I will also set it up in case there's too much of this lip movement when they're talking. You hear the lips moving, right? So let's say you're doing that. Let's go to inserts. Here at inserts, first thing I'll do is I want to apply probably some sort of compression. So I'm going to look on here and I'm going to get a compressor going on, which should work here. And I have a compressor. Next thing I'll do is I may want to set up an EQ in there. So I'll look for an EQ. I think that'll work. I'll find an EQ in here. I'll get this killer EQ. I'll apply an EQ. I'll also come up here and I'll apply one more device here. I'll plug in, if I can find this plugin here for me, I can get what's plugin. And here it is. I want to get a noise gate. So I have 3 different plugins set up here for the input of a sample. When recording it, I want to cut out certain things. So I'll close this out, and now you'll see I have this going on here. Of course, my input. Let's go back to monitoring, and I'm monitoring my input. It's pretty loud. So I'm going to come into my computer and bring it down. So after adding all these effects, it seems to boost the sound. So I come here, let's go to edit, and we can see it's almost maxed out here, right? So this is the in. I'll bring my in down, and as I do for my compressor, it sort of evens out a little bit more. I can change my attack a little bit, adjust my compression. Let's go back to here. I have an EQ. So is my EQ there. I'm going to go to edit. Here's the EQ. So sometimes I want to cut some frequencies out, particularly on some male vocals. Could be too deep. And so you don't want to have the bottom interfere with lower frequencies like a bass. So you'll come back to, let's say, your bass right here. And I may want to sort of lower or find the frequency I want to bring down or up, and then change that frequency a little bit. Change its gain. Testing 1, 2. See, if I turn the highs off, let's go to here, turn the bass off, and now I have less bass. Let's add more in. There's more bass. Less, a little less right there. Turn the mids out, we've got mostly highs, see? So you want to adjust your levels. Find out what works best for you. Now, I'm going to go back here and put that back in. There you go. That's much better. And we're going to look at our gate. So here's our gate. And with the gate, I want to get ready to cut out sounds in the background. So tap here, and I want to get a hard gate. And now, as I try to actually talk, you don't hear anything at all because the gate's working. So what I want to do next is sort of like get my gate to react a lot better. So I want to come in here and change my threshold level. Testing 1, 2. And so it's glitching in and out. And now you notice when I shut up, the gate cuts in. So let's bring it down a little more. And now the gate cuts in and it stops. And I want to make sure it does it just fast enough so that nothing in the background is heard. It's pretty quiet. And so when someone raps or they sing, all you hear is what's being recorded and nothing in the background. So I tend to use a hard gate a lot of times with a pretty good singer and a pretty good rapper, but I may have some room noise, particularly if they're just doing a demo of the vocals, just to get an idea if the vocals will match the track, or I may want to get some ideas where I'll take pieces of the vocals and create a chorus, particularly with a vocalist. I may want to get create a chord and get a triad, and so I'll just take a couple of parts and I'll pitch change it. This works. So once that's done, I can come back into my sampler. Let's go back here and close it out. And now I can record. Now as I record, you'll hear me record now, then stuff will cut out. It'll sound quiet, then it'll cut. Now you can adjust that later on from home when you figure out what you want to do. This is just to give you an idea of ways you can record with effects in the insert of your sampler. Let's play that back. Now as I record, you'll hear me record now, then stuff will cut out. It'll sound quiet, then it'll cut. Now you can adjust, and you hear it right there. That was it. That's just for demos. Let's throw it out. Discard that sample. That's how it works. Now next we'll do slice, pad tap, and pad hold. Now in this lesson, we're going to talk about sample edit. It's pretty simple to get here. Let me go back to menu. Here's menu, and then you can see is the main. Right here it says sample edit. Right, I click on that, and here we are in sample edit. Now I've got a sample here. It's a loop beat. I'm just going to hit a pad here. Any pad, of course, here in the system. And once I hit it once, it's placed back to the very end of the sample. Now in sample edit mode, I can do many edits to the sample that would make it sound better, or just to use it in different ways to make it easier for me to work with the sample. And so obviously you can see here we have this green little flag here, which is S. And here at the other end, this has an E tied to it, so that's start and end. So I can change my start point. If I click here, you'll see this is a box here for start. Beginning is 0, and you can see it's a red line around the box, so we can actually change the data here. So I can bring this in. As you see, I'm actually changing the start point of the sample. Now the beauty of working with this new touchscreen on the MPC X is I can actually go in here and do this and stretch out and stretch wide. It's kind of cool. I can stretch this sample in and out by just using 2 fingers. A pinch zoom, they call that. A real cool pinch zoom. Let's go back to here, and I'm storing back at the top now, and I've zoomed into the sample. So when setting the beginning, I can come up there and say, I want to get the beginning right here. And you get to right there before the transient starts to peak against the 0 in the axis here. As you can see, it's real quiet there. And once these squiggly lines get up there, crossing from 0, which is the middle, up to plus and minus, it creates a transient. Now you can't see that great now, and I think I need to actually do some processing to the sample. It looks so quiet here. So I'm going to run back, move my start point to the beginning again. I'm going to press this button here called process, right? And here in process, I can do some processes to the sample. In this case, this first option is to get rid of the beginning and the end. We see 2 garbage cans at the end of this diagram, and I would keep the middle, which is this blue area here with the pink outline. So I'll go here, I'll click on this, and now we see the different process I can do with our system here. I can delete, I can slice, extract, but I can also normalize. So as you can see here in this diagram, for the process of the slice is to normalize it. Here I can come right here and turn this into this, right? So let's go back to here. I can turn that into that. Now once I hit that, it asks me to do a name change, but I'm not doing that. So in this case, I want to normalize. And to do that, I'll just press do it. And once I do, it's going to process it. And you can see now we have a much bigger file. And you can see the transients as they do cross the 0 axis, which are squiggly lines up and down of our sample waveform. So I can now change my start point. I can see exactly where I want to go. And I can hit a pad over and over, and I get that sample. And it plays right through. And that's how we can increase the audio signal of a sample. That's called normalization. Now you'll notice here at the start point, it's changed to 1140, and I have an endpoint too as well. Oops, that's actually played the beat there, but we see this here is a 1140, and this is my end, right? So I can come here and sort of like test my sample out by holding down a pad. I can make sure it plays to the beginning and the end. But what I want to do now, I want to pinch in now. I want to see the full waveform. I want to see the beginning and the end of this entire sample and make sure I understand where it's at and how it's going to work. So you'll notice the pads all have different colors here. And they also show you what each pad does on the software. So here in the software, you'll see that the first pad here will play from the start of the sample. The second pad will play from the start of the sample too, but only plays the very beginning. That's the area that we have before the start, right here. This plays to the end. See, it doesn't play the very beginning, but this plays to the end. This plays from the end, where it's quiet. This is play from start on our second row, which is A5. A6 is play from start. This is the note on. This is note on also, play and note on. And this is note on again here. Now here from play all, it plays the entire sample from the beginning to the end, which includes that area before the start. And this is the loop, which is A13. And you can hear there's almost a skip in that loop, right? So we can go here and press A16 to get a continuous loop. I can play to loop start with A14. I can play from loop start. So I can actually pull this down here. And now by pressing down A16, our sample is playing over and over again. And there appears to be a space in the sample. So now I'm going to press the end and sort of bring the end in. That sounds about right. Then I'll hit A16 again and it stops. And this is how we can loop our sample within the sample edit menu. We can use our Q-Link knobs also to set the beginning and the end of our sample slice. So here you want to make sure you have this magnifying glass selected right there, of course. And you'll see here on the software actually where we have this first knob here. You see that says end, that's the end of the sample. And it will move it up in increments, up by 1. So every little 1. So I move this knob 1 time, that's only 1 step. 1 number goes by. This second one here is by tenths. So I move this up again, that moves the sample in tenths. I'm just doing it on the computer too as well, so you get to see that. Yeah, it's in tenths right there, right? And then here we have hundreds, and these are in thousands. Right here for the last one up here, right there. So this row here, this second row from the end, right here, all these knobs help us to get the end of our sample. So we get the exact end we want to get of our sample. Now the first row here, this is all for the start of our sample, to get the start perfect for the sample, as you can see right there. And I can change those knobs in terms of the same parameters. That means this first knob would be 1, the next one would be tenths, hundreds, and thousands for the last one going up. Now as you can see, of course, here, that sample has already been lined up for us here. I did that somewhat already. I'm going to move this back in here. I'd rather have this be at about 96.3, so I'm going to go here in tenths a little bit there. See that? And I want to move it in tenths, and I want to move it in hundreds a little bit more. And see, as I move it, you're getting to see that. I'm going to hit the pad button down now. Make sure I got the right loop playing. I like that right there. I'll hit this back again, and that's pad number 1. Now I can show you some other things. So first I'm going to do right here is I'm going to change the start time from this 1200 there. I'm going to go back to here and change my start time. So let's say right about there. And I'm going to change my end time also as well. So I'm going to go to my end time here. And let's do it right there. I'll change my end time a little bit right here and go to the end and move that in somewhat too. Now the pads all represent different functions. So the bottom row here are one shot. So we have this first one. You see where it's playing from on the sample piece? That's what it's playing from. That's from the start point. I'll hit it again. Now this is playing from the start point, but before where that green line is at, where it starts, where I want to start, right? And then here again, this one here, this is pad number 3, and this plays to the end. The end point of my endpoint set for my end parameter, not the end of the sample. Meanwhile, if I hit the 4th pad, this just plays the very end, that part after that red line of the sample. Now my next row up, which is all red, this is one note. Meanwhile, here in the bottom row, it's one shot. One shot means I hit it once, it plays to the end of whatever selected. As we saw before here, on the first row, 1 through 4 pads. On the 5, 6, 7, and 8 pads, they play the same way, but they're one note. That means just to hold the pad down. Now next we have on our third row here, and this one is our play all pad. This pad plays the entire sample to the beginning, from the beginning. But the beginning of actually where that sample's at. The next one is play sample. That plays from the start to the end, selected by me. The next pad, which is pad 11, this plays sample. Now, pad 10 is one shot. Pad 11 is note on. Now, we also have here pad number 13. That just plays a loop. That plays the area I've selected from the green to the red, as you saw. Then, we have here play to loop start. And it's just a start, that little hit right there. Then pad 15 plays from start. This plays from the start. And of course, pad 16 plays the entire loop. Now I get my loop parameters back where they should be at. And I want to get this set up back to where this should be at, which was roughly about 1200. So I'm going to come in here now and then move in increments from the start, rather. And I want to get right on it here. And this is just by using my knobs here for my Q link. And I'm back at it. I'll press the pad 16 to get my loop. And that's it for that loop. Now also, I can tune this loop up too. So I can come to here and I can set up tuning. So I may want to come down, move my cursor down to here. I can tune the loop. Stop this. That's tuning the loop. I can tune it up or tune it down if you want to tune your loop up. In this case, no need for that. Then we have from BPM. I can get a tuning from BPM. This is the BPM, the current detected BPM, and thinks it's at. I can go to here and to detect the BPM, and it says that's BPM it detects. So by pressing detect BPM, it says that 108.79 is the BPM I detected for this sample. But it has to be tested always. And here for root, that selects the root. That means that middle C, C3, is the root key. When I hit that sample, it'll play at the sample rate that it was sampled at. It's the most natural sound of that sample. Anywhere up or down on the keyboard, when selecting this sample, it's saying you're on a keyboard and it's stretched over the entire keyboard range, it'll down will play lower, up it'll play higher in pitch. All right? This is just your X fade. That's the part where the actual sample crosses this line here and creates those squiggly lines. And we have our sample. This is our link slice. I can link a slice to anything. And of course, this is our loop lock, which we have currently in place right now. Now I can also process my samples. As we showed you earlier, we can process them. Earlier we normalized it. But sometimes I will come here and I may want to get rid of the ends. Or let's say extract the sample. So I'll come to here and I got the part I like right here, and I want to extract this new sample out. So I can come back in here, and maybe I want to change the name of this sample. I'm going to call this JB Loop, and I'll press do it. And now when I make the new sample, it's going to name that new sample JB Loop. But I will extract it from the current sample, and I'll get the parts where I set my start and end time to, and make a new sample. Now, if I want to do that, I'll just press do it. and it's processing that information, and now it's made a brand new sample. Now, if I want to find the sample, of course, I would come here, and I would see JB loop right there, and here it is right here. You see it says JB loop. I got it right there, and my sample's here. I can play it back. And now I'm playing back that new sample made by my MPC software. The next thing I want to talk about here is this BPM, from BPM. So when I tap from BPM, and what happens here is that you can see I have the beat selected. So if I have this sample and say it's 8 beats, that's like 2 bars, then this will be the tempo of that particular sample from beginning to the end. My current sample is just 4 beats, just 1 bar. And so the MPC software has detected the BPM as being 114.65 as the beats per minute. Now, if I wanted to, I can select match here, and I would make this sample match the BPM of the current sequence. Now, if I tap to sequence, it will send this BPM of 114.65 to the current sequence. And that sequence would either slow down or speed up based on to whatever this BPM is for this sample. And that sample would fit perfectly because it's going to be that BPM. Now next here we have detect. And what happens here is that the MPC software detects the BPM. It looks at it, okay, we see the transients, we see how long the sample is, and it calculates that this is the proper BPM. Now also here we have this thing here called the loop lock, right? That's our loop lock. If loop lock isn't on, you'll notice here that what appears next here is this blue, like almost loop look icon, which you see here, which is red, right? And once that's on, I hit the sample pad, it'll loop based on whatever the beginning is, but not based on the start point here. Now, because that start point has been cut off, it's based on that currently. But if I had it just chopped in a little bit and it was, the start point was further away, it would loop to whatever the beginning was. But in this case, 0 is the beginning, so it loops to that point. Now, if I click here, this will loop over and over to the end. Let's stop that by hitting pad number 16. If I click it here, it'll loop backwards and forwards. Hit pad 16 to stop that again. Now if I click here, it'll go forward once, and then it'll just keep going backwards, keep looping backwards. Stop that again. And that's how the little loop section there works. I can also assign a sample. So I'm going to come here and press assign, and here I can assign a sample to a pad. So assign slice to a pad. This is one big sample. It's called a slice. And here we have the pad. I can select my pad right here, pick a pad. I can assign a sample to a pad. I'll just double tap that. And then here I'll pick a pad. Let's say I want to put it on pad number 16. Okay, and here it can be a slice type, which could be a non-destructive slice type, or based on pad parameters. Let's go pad parameters. And then here we also have the program. I can select the program I want to put this sample in. Currently it's in the bounce program. But to do that, it's pretty simple. Maybe you have more than one program. You might double tap here, select your program, and then you're in. That slice will be assigned to the pad. It'll be assigned its pad parameters, slice type, and it'll be in the proper program. Once that's done, you just press do it, and it's done. It's assigned to that particular program. Now, you can assign a sample anywhere. Here's assign right here on our MPC X window. And of course, I can assign a sample here to slice, or make a new sample. See that? But here, I'm going to assign a slice to a pad. So I can assign this slice to any pad I'd like to. Now let's go down, let's close this out. This is the slice I have here, which is this one sample. If I play it here, that's the full loop size, right? I'll just press the sign, and it says, look, assign slice to pad. I can do that. I can pick the pad. I'll come to here. I can pick a pad, close this out. I can even turn my data wheel and decide which pad I want to assign that slice to. I can also set this slice type to pad parameters, that means it will respond to all the parameters for this one pad. When I change them, it'll respond to those parameters. Or I can set it to be non-destructive slice. Once I set it to be a non-destructive slice, it remains the same no matter what. The next option is the program. I can decide which program I want to place the sample in. So I can just tap here too as well. If I have more than one, I can select my programs. Let's tap out of that. Once I do that and it's all done, I'll just press do it. And now my slice is assigned to pad 16 on the bounce program. Now next, I want to talk about this process thing here, where I can process samples, and we're going to go through this here. The first process here is to discard. I can discard the end and the beginning. This is based on the start point and the end point. And once I press do it, it will discard the data beyond the start point and end points. So that means beyond there, these trash cans that you see as icons, that stuff right there will go. Okay? So we're going to edit the sample that way. I can delete a sample. I can delete what's here in the middle. That will be deleted, and we'll keep 1 and 2. And you see this little pictogram here shows us that it goes from here to here, where 1 and 2 come together. Our next option is to silence. I can add silence anywhere within a track. Let's say I want to silence, maybe there's a vocal somewhere and I want to keep some of the parts of the track, or silence a drum beat. I can do that by just selecting silence, making sure my start points are like you see here in the pictogram, and then bam, it comes up as these two sides come together, and this is just silent in the middle. The next option is to extract. I can extract a sample and make a brand new one. So I have a start point here, a start point there. All I have to do is press extract. It'll extract and make a brand new one, which I did before earlier. Now, the next option here is to normalize. This is the sample, how low it is. This will normalize it within 0 dB. Now, let's get to the next one. We have reverse. I can reverse a sample. I can select the sample and make it play backwards. And just reverse that sample. Also, I can have a fade in where I can make the beginning sort of like just fade up like this. I can have a fade out where the sample will just fade out like this, like that, just fade out totally. Now, of course, you can see here we can select linear, we can set log and X. Now let's get out of this. We can go here to pitch shift a sample. I can change the pitch of a sample and change this pitch right here. As you can see here, I can change it either negative or positive and change my pitch. Let's take it using my data wheel, get it back to where it should be at. Here. And I'll press cancel that. No need to do that. I'm just going to show you what you can do, what's possible. I can time stretch my sample. Now, in terms of time stretch, I can make this sample a brand new sample, but maintain the same tone qualities. I'm going to just stretch it so it fits a particular time value. Now, in this case, the original sample, as you can see here, is at 114.65. I can select a new sample right here. Let's say I want it to be faster. I want to make it 21.65. Now, I can do that. And you see the ratio it'll make it will be 0.6.0. Our ratio here would be 106.4. That would increase that sample by about 6.1 from where it originally was. I can say, do it. And now, this sample will be different. Yep. Hit that again. Now I want to undo that. Now you hear it's different. It's slower. So I can increase the the speed or lower the speed of the sample, but still maintain the tone quality. That's very important to realize. We'll go back to the process again. And we can also change the gain. That means increase it, make it louder or not. I can also copy the entire sample, make a brand new sample. And once I do, you'll see the name appear right here. And that's how we can process a sample on our MPC X. Okay, right now we're in trim mode. You'll see trim is right here. I can select this button right here, and now you see I'm in chop. I have some other parameters here. I have manual, threshold, region, and BPM. I can chop this sample up. Now, if this little arrow right here, if I click that arrow, that takes you back to trim mode. So this little arrow will take you back. So I'll hit trim mode again, and now I'm right here at the chop. And this is the manual chop. Here I have assigned, of course, I've got this sample right here. And what I could do is I can come in here, of course, and play my entire sample out to the end, of course, obviously. But what I want to do here, probably more than anything else, is to chop it up into different slices. So we can chop it up. I can come to here and do this manually. I can press a slice, add a slice, and look what happened. It added slices in there. It added slices already into this whole system. And so it's just throwing slices anyway. So just come up here. They're almost on transients, but they're also in certain sections. And this is manually putting slice. I can come to this slice here. And that's how I want to change I come to my end. I can change the end. I can change the beginning of the sample. And so I can set up the certain regions I want to chop up of this sample. And we have link slices, so I can link them up too as well. But in this case, this is called the manual chop, and this is how we do it. Now, I also have threshold. And this is based on threshold level, the peak and the loudness of certain samples. And I can control that here through threshold. So if I pull this down threshold-wise, I get less samples. I pull it up higher, I will get more samples. So here I get none. So here in threshold, if I go totally up to 100 in threshold, we have no samples at all. So threshold level is wide open, maxed out. That means everything goes through, doesn't see that. But the further I come down here in threshold level, and I bring it down, the MPC software will start to create slices. And there you go. We go back up again. I go down here to, let's say, here we are, 65. And now it created 3 slices. There's one big one here. There's one here and there, and I can see those. Now my pads, 1, 2, and then pad 3 will pay the rest of those slices. So as these slices are actually created by MPC through the threshold process, you will start to see the slices. And next, let's go to 66. Here's 64. Now I have 6 different slices. And I'm going to go down here again, and now we have 7. And the further I go down in my threshold level, the more slices it will create. I'm going to go way down here. And it's maxed out to 11 separate slices here. So let me see when I actually go back up in slices. Okay, yeah, once I cross here in the 50s, that's it. I have 11 slices, and they're all based on my threshold level. Now our next option is regions. And here it creates these regions, these areas. So it took this entire beat, let's say, it's a 4-beat measure. It's almost like each beat is a region. So that means that we have 16 different samples, all based on the length. Now before, so the threshold, they're based on the sound. So here in threshold, it says, well, this is a sound here, it's a sound there. And you can see as I hit a pad, it sees that's a little hi-hat. That's a little hi-hat. It sees that that's a snare drum. It sees that snare drum too. a short snare drum with also a little tambourine, a little cymbal sound, another snare drum, another hi-hat, snare. That's part of the actual kick drum, but it's also hitting the vibra slap. And that's the vibra slap with kick drum in the beginning. So what's happening here in Threshold, it's recognizing these transients, it's seeing them, and it's setting up everything based on that. While regions just separates it based on the regions. BPM separates it just based on BPM, as you can see right there. And so almost the same thing, but these are based on BPM. And it's just about the same thing. Look at the regions, here and here. It's not really changing much right there, right? But if I go to here and I change, let's say the beats, and I say it's the different number of beats here, it changes, see that? If I go to like 8 beats, it changes everything. So this is all based on the BPM, the beats per minute, for the BPM setup of the sample chop. I want to cover more about this chopping of slices and creating a program. So first of all, I have all my slices here, and sometimes I may want to just keep a certain section and eliminate some other sections. So I'm going to pinch zoom in here. I can also use my zoom key like this here to zoom in, and I'm zooming in directly on this one slice here, as you can see here. Now in this slice here I have, let's drag this out a little bit more, we can see the beginning. Let's zoom a little bit more, there you go, we can see the beginning now. This says 1 and this is 1 here. That's one beginning and start, that's one sample. If I drag in here, this becomes a sample, and this is eliminated, right? So I can pull this back out to here, right there, and I'm back out. Or I'll move my cursor key right here and do this. Or I can always use my Q-Link knob. Now, of course, the N is set to the second knob in, and so I can move it in smaller increments and get exactly on that one right there, where they combine together. What I can also do is do link slices. Now when slices are linked, no matter what I do with this one right here, 2 moves with it, see? This is the end of one, but 2 moves with it, so they're linked. Whatever I take away from one, it's added to the second slice. And I could zoom back, let's zoom back out here, and we'll see better once we zoom out. And you can see I can happen with any one of these slices. I can come to this slice here. Let's go to slice number 2. I'll select here, right there, and I'm going to go to 2, and we see 2, 2, and 3. If I move 2 in like this or move 3 this way, the same thing happens. So we do not miss anything. It's my preferred way to do it actually anyway. And also, if I have, like, for example, I've got this slice here, which is slice number 2, and this slice here, which is slice number 1, they're almost should be just one slice, really. They don't really do anything. So 2 just has an extra sound of that other part, which is this. That's 1. So I want to make it all in one slice. I would just come into here, probably hit this pad, select 2. I press my shift button, and then I'd come in here to slice, remove a slice then. I remove that slice there, where it says slice with a minus there, and now it's all one sample. So it's always cool to eliminate slices you feel that really don't work for your system. Now, once I've got my slices lined up, I know what I want to keep, I can do a couple of things. I can press shift down and convert this. Or I can eliminate I can get rid of all these slices, clear them all out, right? So I'm going to come here to convert it, and what I can do, I can convert this into a clip program. I can set my tempo based on whatever tempo that particular sample is set at. And I can create events for it. So you can create your own program, your own clip program. Let's cancel that. Let's go back. I'll press shift again. I'm going to press convert. And now once I press convert, I can come to here. I can create a new program with new slices. I can add crops to the slices. I can create events for the slices. In this case, it said 2 bars right there. Even that sample's only 1 bar, it said 2 bars. By creating events, it'll do that. I can assign each slice to a separate pad. I can make a new sample. Take the current samples, it'll crop it right and make a brand new sample out of it, depending on what's selected. I can also make a patch phrase, which I can use in the system sort of like to make it fit anything, where I can make that sample fit any feature I want, can make it slow down or speed up. I would use the sample, hit a pad like as though it was an instrument or something. And sometimes I will take an instrument or a vocal in here, a female vocal or a male vocal in the vocal, or even a trumpet sound. And I could come in here and patch phrase a trumpet melody or something, and it'll fit any key. As you see, we can do with clip programming. So you can assign these samples and save them as a patch, new sample, slice to a pad, a brand new program with samples. And let's say a new program. I'll press do it right here, and now I've got a brand new program. All the pads here have been selected for that purpose. And that's my brand new program that was created from just that one slice. And I can do that for slices, a patch phrase, or also as a clip program. Now, as you can see here, I've got a brand new program, and that's an easy way to see. I can go back to main here. I go back to right here, and this gets me back to the main page. I can come to here for program, and you'll see it. That's the LB Loop CH channel for channel. That's the program. And that program is right there. Once I bring that program up, all the sounds on those pads will be on that program. Now I can also do another convert. I'll come to here, press convert. Right there, press shift and convert. And I want to probably create a new program, but a new drum program with slices. And this can create events as well, which I don't want to do. I just want to create this program so I can use it. If I create events, it'll put each one of these slices into an event, and it'll make it into some sort of pattern, which I don't need. So here we're going to press do it. And now I have a new system lined up for programs. So I go back to here, go back to menu, and I want to go back here to my main page here. And before we had the one we made channel up, right? So this is 2. And I'll press enter when I use 2 here. Yep, that's 2 when I use 2. And so now I got all my slices down. And what I want to do in this case is pretty much I'm going to just erase everything here and get rid of my first sound I have here. Whoa, let's go back to main menu here and go to main again. And so I want to get rid of the first sound. You can see here in the software. Got rid of that. And now what I'm going to do is going to play a loop here. I'm going to play some patterns. So I'm going to probably pull this camera back a little bit here. And we're going to point down a little bit so you can get an idea of what's going on here. Right there, the pads right there. And then I'm going to sort of zoom out a little more. There we go. And I'm just going to create a pattern out of these pads here. And here I can press this. Record and play, press this here. So as you can see, it's just canceling sounds out. So again, it's a channel again when I make a program up. So what I prefer to do when I use slices is to put them into separate slices, save them as slices, bring them up as a program, and make sure we can assign the separate outputs as you would normally do with other sounds. Otherwise, they're cutting each other off. Let's go to pad mute. So here in pad mute, I have the ability to mute pads. So I'll turn this pad back on. If I turn them off and on, you'll notice they turn from amber to red, right? And so I'll press play, and you'll also see the pads blink in time to the music, actually in time to how they're struck. So there's velocity data that's going down too as well. So it gives you a good idea of which pad is playing, and you can tell by looking at the blinking which rhythm is on that pad. So, like for example, we have 3 kick drums right here. I'll turn them all off, and now all we hear is just everything else except for the kick drum. Now I hit one pad, pad number 9. Now I hit pad number 5. Now pad number 1. And now you hear all the kick drums playing at once. So I can just mute them. So I can put 4 fingers here. I'm going to mute all the pads. And I'll bring back just one, this tambourine here. Then snare, couple kick drums. So you can develop a mix by just hitting these pads and getting an idea of what you think will work or won't work. Pretty simple. Now the beauty of having this pad mute program is that I have the ability to strike a pad and then delay when that action happens. So I can delay it by a 60th note, an 8th note, a quarter note, 1 bar, 2 bars. So if let's try 1 bar. If I go to 1 bar, and I select 1 bar there, and I close it out, I'm going to press play. I'm going to hit this one right here, tambourine. After 1 bar, you see it turn red. I hit it again, and it turns. And notice as that top line goes by there at the top, this is a 2 bar phrase. So you see it comes in right there after 2. Now I'll bring the bottom 4 back in, and it comes on the next bar on 1. I'll take the kick drums out, they're blinking, and then they come back in, put it right there on the same bar. So I can let them come in or drop them based on my time division. Let's go back here and turn that off. It's off. That's great. Now I can also do pad mute. So here I'm going to mute some pads. But they got to be in a group. So this is pad mute group, right? So I can say this pad here, kick drum, will be 1. Not 3, 1. And this one will be 1. And this one will be 1. There you go, hit 1 properly. And now I can mute this. Let's say these are hi-hats, right? So I'll make the hi-hats 2. And this will be mute group 2. Those are 2, and these are 1. So now I will select pad mute again. And then I'll come back and I'll play from the top. And I'll select 1 kick drum. Now all 3 kick drums are muted. I'll hit any one of these kick drums, and they're all unmuted. So any one of these kick drums, they all belong to the same group. You'll notice the number up there in the upper right-hand corner. Now here for the hi-hats, which are pads 2 and 3 and 4, I can come here and press play, and now pads 3 and 4, I'll cut those off. No more hi-hats. And they're back in. So once these pads are part of a group, I can strike any one of the pads, and that entire group will cut off. And it works on the same principle with the time division as well. I can set it to 16th, or I can set it to 2 bars. I can also use triplets as well. T for triplets, and now we have 60-note triplets right there. See? It's pretty simple. Set it up, and you see it like that. And you'll notice here, everything else has been set up to triplets. You'll see the quarter notes are triplets, and the 8th notes are triplets as well. But of course, the bars and anything else is not. We'll close this out. And that's how we can do pad mute and group mute. So now we have track mix. I have a track up here. Let's play it from the top. I'll press stop. Now you can see right there we have 7 different parts. And these parts all belong to just one overall sequence. These are all tracks though, so each sound is separated into a separate track for one sequence. And I can just tap on these and just mute anything. In this case, the shuffle's back on. Bring the vocals in. A cymbal. Snare drum. Kick bass. And the pad. Now this is just how I would hit my pads, and the beauty of using actually the screen is it's like a pad, so it's easy. I can come in here, turn all 4 off, turn 3 off, come back here, flip them around. But see, I'm using solo now. I'll turn solo off. I'll put solo on. Now if I put solo on, the very first track will be soloed. Now they're all in again. Now I can come to here, add solo, the first track, but then that's soloed. This is soloed, or that's soloed. So after I select solo, I can still go back in and select which track I want to solo. But the first time I turn it on, everything's on, the first track is soloed. Now I could also apply time division using time correction as we use the track mute. So here I have track mute. I'm in time division, of course. I can turn this off, which is for triplets. And the time I strike the pad is based on my time division. If I hit the pad, I can say, well, I hit the pad now, it'll take 2 bars before that to activate. I can go to here, 1 bar, or I can go to here within 1/16th note after I hit the pad, it will come back in. Which is kind of handy if you have like a sample that falls in place at a certain time and point, you may want to come in on the quarter note. So I come to the quarter note here, and I'll select close, and I can just press play again. And I hit a pad, and it comes back on the quarter note. Let's go to time division again while it's playing. Let's go to 1 bar. Close it. I hit the pad. And see, it blinks until that comes in. Then it blinks again. And it's back in. Now I can also apply track group. So it's just like with pad group. I can come here, select the track group, and I'd select pads that belong to certain groups. So I can select pad 1, and I'll be part of group 1, and I'll let the snare be part of group 1 too. And you'll see there's a 1 in the upper right hand corner of each one of these pads. And if I hit 1, they'll come out at the same time. So I'll go back to track mute to activate it. I'll press play, and now if I hit this first pad, you see that pads 1 and 7, which are actually tracks 1 and 7, I've just cut off. And hit it again, they come back on. But if I go to solo, and track 1 is part of solo, it will not solo 7 at the same time. Leave solo, and we're out of it. And that's how track mute works. So here's our sampler set up on our MPC X. And you can see there's some audio coming in right there. And that, of course, is my voice. Now here, this infinity dB, this little red arrow here, is our dB level. So it's our threshold level. And what happens if I don't talk? Let's move it up a bit higher. Now, as I talk, you'll notice that it's not going too loud. But once I get louder and loud enough and it crosses that threshold level, the sampler will instantly start to sample. And let's go up here. And I'm not talking loud enough. So if I get really loud, hello, and it starts to sample, we'll see it. So I'll press arm here. And now, okay, it started to sample. See that? Which is pretty cool. And so I want to stop it. I'll press here. I've stopped it, and we can see we have a brand new sample. I can play it here. And now, okay, it started to sample. See that? Okay, I can discard it or keep it. Let's get rid of it. And now it's gone. And this is our sample mode here. So that's the way I can sample using the threshold level. I can also just press this button here and get ready to go. Once I press this button here, it's sampling already. As you can see, it'll sample for the time I have set for the sample. So we'll stop that. I'll play it here. Here, it's sampling already. As you can see, obviously, let's discard that. It's gone. Now here below the arm button, you'll see it says max length. I can tap here. I can go to minutes and seconds, depending on how big a hard drive I have set up for it. And here you can see I can just turn my data wheel and figure out how long I want my sample to be. So in this case, I'll set it for 20 seconds, which is good. And I can also come to here and I can click this monitor and I can monitor the signal coming into the sampler. I can hear it directly through my speaker system and get an idea of how it sounds. Now sometimes, let's turn this off, sometimes when you're actually recording into your MPC X or in any environment and you're a vocalist or a rapper or someone singing or whatever, and they come in there and they're singing or rapping and they have some sort of chains on, where they're going to have probably their keys. A girl can have a bracelet that's clinging and jingling earrings, all kinds of stuff in the hair. You never know. And so what I tend to do also is get rid of some of these background sounds or have them remove everything from their body and just start working. What I also do too is I will also set it up in case there's too much of this lip movement when they're talking. You get the lips moving, right? So let's say you're doing that. Let's go to inserts. Here in inserts, first thing I'll do is I want to apply probably some sort of compression. So I'm going to look on here and I'm going to get a compressor going on, which should work here. And I have a compressor. Next thing I'll do is I may want to set up an EQ in there. So I'll look for an EQ. I think that'll work. I'll find an EQ in here. I'll get this killer EQ. I'll apply an EQ. I'll also come up here and I'll apply one more device here. I'll plug it. If I can find this plugin here for me, I can get this plugin. And here it is. I want to get a noise gate. So I have 3 different plugins set up here for the input of a sample. When recording it, I want to cut out certain things. So I'll close this out. And now you'll see I have this going on here. Of course, my input. Let's go back to monitoring. And I'm monitoring my input. It's pretty loud. So I'm going to come into my computer and bring it down. So after adding all these effects, it seems to boost the sound. So I come here, let's go to edit, and we can see it's almost maxed out here, right? So this is the in. I'll bring my in down, and as I do for my compressor, it sort of evens out a little bit more. I can change my attack a little bit, adjust my compression. Let's go back to here. I have an EQ. So here's my EQ there. I'm going to go to edit. Here's the EQ. So sometimes I want to cut some frequencies out, particularly on some male vocals. Could be too deep. And so you don't want to have the bottom interfere with lower frequencies like a bass. So you'll come back to, let's say, your bass right here. And I may want to sort of lower or find the frequency I want to bring down or up, and then change that frequency a little bit. Change its gain. Testing 1, 2. See, if I turn the highs off, let's go to here, turn the bass off, and now I have less bass. Let's add more in. There's more bass. Less, a little less right there. Turn the mids out, we've got mostly highs, see? So you want to adjust your levels. Find out what works best for you. Now, I'm going to go back here and put that back in. There you go. That's much better. And we're going to look at our gate. So here's our gate. And with the gate, I want to get ready to cut out sounds in the background. So tap here, and I want to get a hard gate. And now, as I try to actually talk, you don't hear anything at all, because the gate's working. So what I want to do next is sort of like get my gate to react a lot better. So I want to come in here and change my threshold level. Testing 1, 2. And so it's glitching in and out. And now, you notice when I shut up, the gate cuts in. So let's bring it down a little more. And now the gate cuts in, and it stops. And I want to make sure it does it just fast enough so that nothing in the background is heard. It's pretty quiet. And so when someone raps or they sing, all you hear is what's being recorded and nothing in the background. So I tend to use a hard gate a lot of times with a pretty good singer and a pretty good rapper, but I may have some room noise, particularly if they're just doing a demo of the vocals, just to get an idea if the vocals will match the track, or I may want to get some ideas where I'll take pieces of the vocals and create a chorus, particularly with a vocalist. I may want to get create a chord and get a triad, and so I'll just take a couple of parts and I'll pitch change them. This works. So once that's done, I can come back into my sampler. Let's go back here and close it out. And now I can record. Now as I record, you'll hear me record now, then stuff will cut out. It'll sound quiet, then it'll cut. Now you can adjust that later on from home when you figure out what you want to do. This is just to give you an idea of ways you can record with effects in the insert of your sampler. Let's play that back. Now as I record, you'll hear me record now, then stuff will cut out. It'll sound quiet, then it'll cut. Now you can adjust, and you hear it right there. That was it. That's just for demos. Let's throw it out. Discard that sample. That's how it works. Now next we'll do slice, pad tap, and pad hold. Now whenever you're sampling and you're using a turntable, a guitar player, or a bass player come over, even a keyboard player might come over, and they may come over and go in stereo or mono. So you want to make sure your options are selected properly here. So here on the top, of course, we're going to make sure our 3/4 record gain is set properly. Turn this down. Turn everything down. Turn your master volume down. You do not want to blow your speakers. You want to get the levels set up first. But when a guitar player plugs in, is popping it in. You may have effects, reverb, a wow, fuzz box. You could have a extra harmonizer and also a chorus box. You never know. You plug those in, bam, you're going to have some real noise going on. Bass player too could pop, because it's going to be bass. You could be clicking and popping those strings, bam. And make sure those levels are down, and make sure gains are proper right here. If you're using a mic that's a condenser mic, always flip up your 48-volt phantom power. This will give it better vocals when you have the power on. It'll add more power to the mic, and it'll be easier to record. Once you get your levels right, once they're already recorded in, or actually once they're plugged in, and you're cool, you got your turntable plugged in, slowly bring up your master volume first, just low level. Then use a 3/4 record gain knob and turn it up slowly to get the right level, and then sort of adjust your levels in the room. And the same also, if you're going to use the front inputs, work the same way. And so you have gain 1 and 2 here, and just set those up properly. And you notice, of course, you have the switches here for going either rear or the front for your input. Now next I want to talk about slice. This is slice right here. And to record slice, it's pretty simple. I'm just going to either press arm right here, or I can hit a pad, it'll start the sample. And I can hit another pad, it'll put that sample on that pad. Let's go. That's the first pad, there's the second one, there's the third pad blink, and now the fourth pad is blinking. Now, to stop it, I'll just press this right here, and we've stopped the sample. But now we have an option. We can create a program. So in this case, this new program will be called Test 1. I already labeled it. But you can always come here to the virtual keyboard, go right back in there and label it. Do sample, space, slice. I'm going to press do it. Right there, do it. And now we have a new program called Sample Slice. Now I can have 3 different options. I can come to here. It can be off. That means the samples will be in my sample pool. Each time I hit a pad, it created a new sample. Next, our option here is with non-destructive slices. These slices will belong to the same sample set, but they'll be separate slices in a program. And next here we have, this is with pad parameters. So I can have whatever pad parameters are already set up for this program, it'll be locked to those pad parameters. So to do that, let's go straight to the with non-destructive slices, and we're going to select create. And once it does, I've got my slices. I go back here to the menu, we'll go back to main, and now you see here, this program is here, called program 1. I'll go to this one here, which is slice, sample slice CH, which is channel, right there. Here, my next sample function here, we can use tap pad, right? So here's pad tap, I go right here. That's kind of cool, but in order to use this, I've got to have a program pre-selected. So I go back here in the menu, go to main, and you've got to have a drum program. Can't be a key group, all right? Or an audio program. It's got to be a drum program. Here's my drum program right there. I'll go back to menu. I'll select sampler. And then I'm going back to pad tap. Now what happens if I tap a pad, it'll start recording. So now it's going to record in that pad. Now once that pad goes on, I can go to here, my next pad, the previous pad turned green. I go to this pad here, pad 3, and now pad 2 is turned green. A sample's on there. I'll go to pad 4, and now there's a sample on pad 4. We'll press stop, and we're done. Now what happens, I'll just go right back to the program. Once I go back to the program, I'll press menu right here. We'll go back to main. I'll go to program. That's the first pad. And each one of these pads has a sampler. And they're based on the pad parameters. So I'm just tapping the pads lightly. I get less audio. The harder I hit, it's louder. And that's how pad tap works when you want to sample to a separate pad in your MPC X. I do pad hold, some of the same thing. I can do pad hold here. I already did pad slice, so my program's been set up. I will normally just come back in here and select it right here. It's recording onto that new pad. I did the first 4, I want to put one here, it's good. I'll come back here, I'll press stop, and then that pad will have the sample directly on it. I may want to do it again. I'll press stop. Okay, and I'll come back to the next pad. I want to record it here, hold it down, and then let go, and I'll stop it there. I can go back to menu, I'll go back to main. And you can see the samples are there. Okay, so here's my overview of my MPC X, of course. And I want to talk about now is the Q-Link section. So this is the Q-Link here, and this is really invaluable. This is a great way for us to work within project, program, pad scene, pad parameters, and our screen controls also. And also, if I wanted to edit, I just come to here and I press Shift, and I'm in Edit. That's really cool. Makes it easier for us to do. Now here once I'm in project and I'm in screen control, you'll see with these 16 buttons here that right above them we have a display that displays the current edit mode. So for example here I can do volume and panning here, and then I can do mute on or off, and this is for the project. Now here I have program, but I can come here also in project, and you'll notice once I hold the button down here that you'll see that information that's on these displays appear right here. The top one is off, so nothing appears here, but that is off. Mute, pan, volume. You'll also see right here this little button right here for Q-Link edit. Now if I select that, you'll now see that I'm in project, which matches this button right here. Those same parameters appear right here. Off, mute, panning, and the volume. Right? I can just come to here and select that, and now I'm in volume for right here. And this is all for track 1. Now right here, you can see this is Q-Link 2. This is the data I can actually change. So I can put in audio track. I can go to program. I can go to return right here. So we're back here to MIDI track right here. And then I can change that also. So It's kind of easy to do because you have the ability to select the Q-Link knob you want to select, and then here you can change the data for that knob. I can go back here, I'm at my original knob, and I have my data here for the master outputs and the parameters volume. So I come to here, I could come to here and change this. I'd come in, I would see volume, I click on volume right there, and now I have volume again. And so you see it again right here. Now, besides just pressing my Q-Link buttons right here, I can also do that on my display. I can come here to program, and now you see this? That changed the program. If I come here and go to pad scene, you now see a different pad scene. And the same thing also applies. I select the Q-Link knob, I can come to here and change the parameters for that knob. And it gives me all the available parameters that I can change. I can come here to pad parameters. I can select a Q-Link knob. In this case, you can see I'm on knob number 5, which is this one right here. Then I see the parameters I can change for knob number 5. The mixer, the program, the parameter here is level. I can also come here and just double tap this, and I see all the parameters I can change for Q-Link knob number 5 when I'm in pad parameters. I can come here to screen control, and now I can change anything for my screen control. And you'll see here, nothing much there, but watch as I can go out of this actually, and I want to go back to menu, back to main, and now you'll see this light up totally here. And this gives me all my screen controls. That means whatever I see here on my screen can be controlled. Here I have the BPM. This is the bars. If I have a loop, it goes from bar 1 to bar 2. This is the start, and this is the end. This is a current track. So all the data appears here, but I can just change the data from right here from my Q-Link setup. Now also we have here, of course, this is the F key. Now you notice when I hit the F key, we have these 6 different buttons changed to red. And now these buttons will activate anything in the lower part of my menu. For example, this is solo. I press this, now that's solo. I press this, turn off solo, now it's mute. Mute on, mute off. I can plus and minus a track. Well, I want to go up to the next track. And the next track, no, I want to go back down to my original track. I'm back there already by doing that. Audio track or the MIDI track. Now, if I don't want to do that, I just press the F key again. It stops, and now these buttons will activate what's ever above them. If I press the shift right here, I can save, which you see is below, browse, or I can do list edit. I can come to here, I can see a list of all the events, whatever was struck, the parameters are, what the velocity was, what was the note that triggered that, and the time value where it was within that sequence. And this is edit list. To leave it again, let's come right back to here. My main menu, I go back to here. So it's pretty easy to get around our MPC X. Now, if I wanted to like pretty much redo or do something else, let's say I went back to a track and I said, okay, I want to go to this particular track and I want to like delete that track. I come to this track right here. I may come to here, look at these values here, or I go right here actually. This will make it easier. I'll go to the grid. See? I go to the grid right here, and I say I want to get this note here. I want to undo some stuff. I want to erase this. Well, I'm going to add a note in. Let's add a note in here. So I go here to the pencil tool. I come in, I'm going to write some stuff in here. I wrote that stuff in there right there on the track. And now I can get rid of it. I'll just press undo. It's gone. I want to bring it back. I liked it. I'm going to press shift. I'll press redo, and it's redone. So it's pretty cool. I can undo, redo. I can delete. You know, I don't like it at all. I want to get rid of it. Uh-oh, I didn't delete. See that? Because I need to actually press the shift button down and delete what's ever there. Cancel that out. That's just a copy. So if I come to anywhere else, I come to here, I would just copy that. I copy it. But here in this case, I need to copy and select. So I would come here. I might select this right there. I would probably copy that, right? And I can copy it again. As I copy, watch how I can copy right over something right there. I'm just copying what I have in front of me, and it pastes it in afterwards. It's copy and paste. If I want to undo that, I can just press undo, 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 undo. I'm undoing everything that I just did by pressing undo. This is full level. And I'm going to hit the pad, and that's full level. And I'm turning full level off by just hitting that full level again. And now, if I just tap the pad lightly, I get one level. I strike it harder, I get a full level. Pretty simple stuff. And sometimes you just want to have a lower set of levels. So I will come to shift, press shift down, then I will go here again to full level. The words below say half level. Click that. And now no matter how hard I hit it or how soft I hit it, it gives me that half level right there. Right? And that's half level. And that's set to about 64 velocity. Rather than the full 127, it's set to 64. Now, here, turn it off, we also have 16 levels. Now, 16 level works on the basis that's going to divide whatever parameter I suggest into 16 levels. So, for example, now we're in velocity. So, this first velocity is pretty low. No matter how hard I hit it, it's going to always be at velocity. Pad 16 is full velocity. No matter how hard I hit this one, it will still be that same velocity level. So I'm going to tap each pad, and you'll notice the level increases all the way to the top. That's velocity. Let's go to tuning. This is tuning. A chromatic scale. And here we go. This is filtering. That's filtering layers. If I have layers in, this is the attack, the amount of attack. So the strongest attack is 1. The least attack is 16. Next we have decay. Of course, when you have a sound, there's that attack when you hit the drum. And then there's that sustain. And then it decays, no matter what it is. It could be a trumpet, a horn, or a vocalist. That first note's there, you hear the note, and then somehow it decays off to the next note, or just decays off totally, of course. Now, you don't hear this too well here that much because it's a short note. But a louder note with more sound to it would be different. So, for example, let's say I go back into here, and we're going to leave 16 levels, and we're going to... We'll go back to it. I selected this note here. And you hear the decay happening. And there's a decay there. So, in 16 levels, I can do velocity, tuning, filter, layer, attack, and decay. To leave it, it's pretty simple. You're going to press close right here, and you're done. You're out of it. Now, of course, we have a bunch of banks. The classic Akai MPC thing, right? And right here, this is A bank, B bank, C bank, D bank. I'll press shift and I've got E, F, G, and H. Now next I want to show pad perform. Here's pad perform, but first before I do that, let's leave this, and I have a particular sound set up here. And these are just sounds here set up as one sound. I can come back to here, and in pad perform, I can make it just notes. So here, it's just one note. That's based off a major scale, right there, major scale. And I can go up here, it's 2 octaves, so that was kind of off, but actually it's here. That's my major scale. You see it set up right here. So actually in this section, which is pad perform, I can make the pads become anything. Like let's say, for example, rather than notes, I want to be a chord. So now it's chords, and these chords are based off of a major scale. and the chord is based off of 1, 3, 5. If I was in C, that would be C, E, G. So that's my major chord right there. This is my minor chord, which would be the D. There's another minor chord. That's a major chord, which would be F. So I can go. That's based off these pads I'm hitting. This is the first pad and the fourth pad. And my fifth pad would be a dominant. Or 2. And this is the C chord. These are based off of progressions. I can come to here and I can do a seventh, which would be 1, 3, 5, 7. Now in C, that would be C, E, G, B. And you can hear that in the chord. I can do progressions. And I can select any chord I want for that progression right here. This is a cool way to actually pick sounds. Currently I only have this bass that I could use, but if you can pick a keyboard sound, you'll be able to make some pretty cool progressions and actually use the chromatics or even use chromatic chords or chords and notes to create some music. And this is the latest feature that came out actually in 2.3, and it's actually our pad perform. It's our pad perform. Of course, we can use notes, we can use chords or triads, we can use a 4-note chord right there, we can use progressions, and we can also go up in octaves. So I go up in octaves here. I can go up in octaves too. List edit. Now I went back to menu right here on the screen, and then of course it's list edit, menu, and list edit. So here on list edit I can see a list of all the events that happen for a particular track. Now in this particular sequence, which I'll play from the top here, now I'm just looking at pretty much just the kick drum on the computer and also here in the system. You notice this little red triangle here going down. Okay, let's press stop. And you'll see the placement of where these kicks are. Almost on every beat here, right? Every beat. This one's a little bit ahead of the beat right there. Right? There's an extra one there, like a little bit. This is the beat, and this is a little bit after the beat, a little bit, not ahead of it. And you'll see that this one here is a little bit right here, just a little bit ahead of the beat. You'll see here that they're all pad 1. Pad 1. And here's an event right here. This is pad 2. I can move my cursor button here, press down my cursor button, and get to events as well. And go back up. I can also change the length of an event. I can come to here and change how long that event is struck. Now in this case, this is a kick drum. So a length of a kick drum is not going to be there because the kick drum's a very short sound. But if I had like a keyboard or a horn or a violin or something that was actually sound in here, I would be able to change the length. If it was a very long sound, then I could change the length of that sound, and that would be based on how long the pad was held down for. I can also change the velocity. Let's move our cursor over to the right. Here I can change my velocity setting for that particular sound. As you can see, the main bass drum on 1 has the strongest velocity setting. The rest of them have lower velocity settings. And this is what happens in a lot of club music, where you want to make sure the pulse on the 1 is felt strong in the club, and then the other pulses just help drive the beat. And then maybe when you get to the chorus, you might want to add a stronger pulse on 1 and 3, and then go back. So it's a great way to do it actually in the system. Now, of course, I can go through tracks. I select right here. There are different tracks for this particular project. And I can go here to hi-hats, let's say. Here I'm in hi-hats, and I have another project going here in hi-hats, and they're actually tracking this project, which is hi-hats. And in this project here, I can change the tuning of any track event. also. So not just tune. I'll click right here actually and turn my data wheel. I can change the resonance, cutoff, and these all have to do with our program. So for example, I got this one sound. If I want to hear it back too, got that one sound there, the tuning's higher compared to this one here. The tuning's different. And I can change that tuning. I can change this one's velocity. Let's turn the velocity up on this one here. Let's go up again, turn this one up a little bit more. This one a little bit more. I'm going to go to here. We go to tuning. Let's hear it. Let's change the tuning way up a little bit more so I get a little more of a higher pitched sound. Now I'll play it from the top. Now stop that. And what I can do also, I can come back and delete any sound. Delete here, undo that. I can insert something. Once I decide to insert it, it's going to say, what's note value? What is that note value type, as you see right here? This is the pad. That's bar 3, beat 3, the 36th tick. I select my note value here, and I can select my pad value there too to insert something. I'll press close that window. So in edit events, we can do everything. I can even nudge events over based on my quantized value. I can nudge that note to anywhere. We're going to go here to MIDI Control. And here in MIDI Control, I can send my MIDI information and control it. And here we have pad 1 is the control. This is bank A. I can set it to all banks if I wanted to. We have the light LED. So here's local. Here's MIDI input. And here's never. So I can send this data from pad 1 here to MIDI channel 10. And the note value would be here. The velocity, which is on right here, and the polyphony is right here for that. So I hit it right there, and that's that pad here or this pad here, and so I can change whatever I want to change these parameters by hitting the pad for control. I can even use my Q-Link. See, I'll pull a Q-Link up here. Here's Q-Link knob number 1, and then I have more I can deal with here with not just the light LED or the MIDI channel, but the CC number. We have our mode here for absolute or relative. Also have our low range, high range, our touch sensitivity right there, and note value. So I can do a lot more. It also works with our XY. So to use the MIDI control, it's pretty simple stuff. If you're familiar with MIDI, this is going to be easy for you to do. This just gives you an access point so you know where we are here in MIDI control. But I can always come back to here, grab a button there, or hit a Q-Link, or come right here to a pad and send MIDI, or get here MIDI input. Let's look at this XYFX. Now once this comes on here, I need to insert it. It's there, but I've got to insert it within the program. So to come to here, and now it's on the program. Let me play back this track first of all. And these are all on one track. And we're hearing this one sequence back. So I can set it up here. And so I have a preset here to set up. And with this preset, it allows me to do this beat repeat low pass filter. And I have the ability to change the attack, the release, currently at 10 milliseconds each, and the wet dry is 100% there, right? And so the x-axis, this axis right here, is our beat division, this is eighth notes. And then the y-axis is our cutoff. So I can come into here, I'll press play. As you can see, it just makes the beat repeat. I can make it a latch too. And as I get up higher, and that's this sort of resonance going on with it, because it's a low pass filter. I can come to here, tap into this, and I'm changing as I keep this latched in here. I'm picking different filters. So here's a repeat, a high pass filter repeat. This is bypass is manual. This is phase manual. Now it's manual, so there's no actual, just a cutoff here and a resonance. And I'll unlatch it, back to where I was at, turn the setup off, I'm back to where I was at. So this is our XYFX. Now you can read the manual, learn more about it. Probably I don't use it that much at all, actually, unless I really have to, but it's good to know that you've got it and how to use it. Now next I want to go ahead and menu, and we're going to look at pad color. So pad color, I can make all the pads like one color. So here I can go like that. I can go like gray. We can go to purple. I can go to blue. So I can pick the color I want to have these pads at. And it makes it kind of cool to have these cool colored pads also. And in this case, this is based on dim velocity. So you come back in here, you can turn that off totally, and you wouldn't have no colors whatsoever in your pads, right? And I can come back to here again, click on that again, and then come back to classic velocity. So if I hit a pad, or I just barely touch the pad, it's yellow, like that. If I hit it harder, it gets red. That happens to all the pads like that. And that's our classic velocity setup. I can come to here, and I can have fixed. And this is fixed here now. See, this is already selected here like a purple. But I can select this here. This is for all pads. I can come to single pad too. I go to single pad now. That single pad looks like it's red there, right? And then I could select this here, and I hit this pad, and that pad looks like it's yellow. And I may want to make this pad purple, so I go here to purple, and I'll make that pad purple. And this last pad, let me make that blue. So I'm going to blue here. I'll select blue right here. I'll select blue, pop it in, and there's blue. So we can change the colors of our pads, which makes it kind of cool to actually have really clear pads or actually colored pads. I prefer colored pads actually for my real pads that are empty, no colors for those at all, and make sure my velocity settings can be set up also. So, and let's continue on. We have off. So these pads are off, but based on velocity, and this is already picked out. I'll be single pad, go to hit all pads, turn this off here, well, nothing here. I'll put this back in the blue. If you hit it hard or soft, the velocity, the pad color will change. And in purple, you can see it's light purple and dark purple and darker. So it's based on our velocity setting. This is our dim. So our dim velocity setting. And then we have our bright velocity setting, whether it's all set to bright, no matter what. You hit a pad, the color remains the same. It's going to be that. I go to singles. I got a singles here. These singles got different colors to them, but hey, look at that. When that velocity is in, it turns to purple there. That's it for purple there for velocity. But otherwise, you can see there are just different colors so they're actually struck. So you got to find what works best for you. I would always suggest that you have certain drums, like snare drums a certain color, kick drums a certain color, hi-hats a certain color. That way, when you are playing, you won't get confused. You know what, this calls that. It makes it easier to actually work with. But you can change the color of a single pad or all pads. Now, in this next video, I want to talk about preferences. And this is a way we can control a lot of our info on our MPC X. This has the software version. We have, of course, our serial number for the machine. And then here's the firmware version, which is the software in the machine itself. And nothing else is there. So the next thing we have is sequences here. Now also, if you get to these things, you can scroll up or down when you get to these windows here inside of preferences. Here we have our display resolution. That's for our pins, our PPQNs. And then it'll display these PBQs. You click right here, and that's our max display is right there. I can go to 96, but I don't want that. I prefer to have it there where it's at now. Tap that, I'm back in. I have instant track mute. So I can play it back, instant track mute, which I don't want to do that. I have play track mute and solo events. That's cool. Keep that on. So some of the parameters already set here are just the basics that come with the machine, but it's good to understand where they are and how to sort of change them. Now our next thing we have here is record audio, mute, and solo events. So I can record those in automation. I can also record pad aftertouch events, place events recorded during counting at start point, and of course we have our truncation duration is set to the length of our sequence. And here we have Q-Link swing control applies time code setting on release. I prefer to keep that off. Actually, I'm zeroing my machine. So next we have here is this is our sync. Let's go to sync right here. This is our sync. Just making sure the sync is set up good. And we have receive sync and send sync. So I want to send sync to sync to a different MIDI device. I'd come here, I'll click there. I can use MIDI clock, MIDI time code, MTC, or use an Ableton link for Ableton Live. I also have the ability to receive MMC, which is MIDI machine control. So a lot of machines work on MIDI machine control where they all can talk to each other. And I would click that on right here, and I can receive MIDI machine control. There also we have send. So we have send sync information. So let's click on this right here. Now here in send, we can send MIDI clock, and I can also send MIDI time code. And then we can also send MIDI machine control, MMC. Now a lot of times working in film, you want to use a film rate, and this is MTC, which is MIDI time clock. There's a film rate set for that, so 30 is set here. And you can have 24, 25, 30, 30 non-drop. Usually use 24 standard in the US, but some guys can use 30. Whatever you pick, just make sure you know what you've picked. And when you do send this back to someone else in case they're going to resync it, let them know what your frame rate is for your MIDI time clock. Next we have a start point you can have here. We can have ports set here. Ports, in this case, none, 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, if you go here, there are no other options actually. There is only none. So I guess sometime in the future, MPC, or guys at Akai, will actually have some specific send ports for that. Then we have here the hardware. This has to do with our pad sensitivity, like how hard do I strike the pad, and then how sensitive that pad is, and at what threshold level will it actually say, okay, if you hit this hard, I will record that velocity data. And the normal, of course, here is 8 and 8, so I'll leave it there myself. You can try and figure that out. There's also a curve we can set up here where they have a curve set up for you. Look at it. A curve where it's A, B, C, or D, but A works for me. Then we have our velocity set at 120 and aftertouch at 0. And of course, we also have here at the bottom here, we have some more parameters here we can actually fix. And that's our foot switch control 1, foot switch control 2, our VU meter source. So it's the current program will be the source. And I can also change that source to be the master output for my VU meter. But generally, it's known as the source. But I do prefer the master volume coming out so I can see where it's going at some point. So I normally prefer to have the master as my volume meter control. I can see it from there. I know what the overall output is. It makes it better for me. Then we have our screen dimming. So in case your screen is too bright or whatever, you can go right here to hardware and you say, okay, we got 5 minutes dimming. And we have screen brightness. It's at the day, and looks like light here, day and night. So I can have it to 2 different parameters for my screen brightness. That's day and night. And so this means I'll dim the screen. If I'm not touching the machine for a while, it'll just dim out in 5 minutes, which pretty much makes sense. And scroll to the bottom, that's it. Next one we have here are project defaults. Now when loading a project up or starting a new project, there's a default setting. So here we have project default tempo is 120. Select your own, whatever works for you will work. Then we have default master tempo. That means every sequence in your MPC will be the same tempo. And you can set that. Click here, and you can set that for every single sequence. But no need for that for me. Different songs, you want to have different sequences, you never know. And it makes it easier too. Then we have our sequence, default sequence. How many bars? 2 or 4 bars. I come and prefer 4. I can go to here, I go to 4, I do it. And now my default sequence is always going to be 4 bars. My default time signature, the numerator is going to be 4, and the default time signature, denominator is going to be 4. So 4/4, obviously, right? If you want to have 5/4, then you put a 5 on top. If you want to have 6/8, it'd be 6 here and 8 here. Or 3/4 would be 3, and this would be 4. That's 3 beats to every single bar. Okay, so here, we're going to have here the default pad slice. Let's scroll up a little bit. I think we can actually scroll a little bit. There we go. We got more information here. Default pad slice. That means I make a slice and I slice something up. I can go from 1 to 16, so all pads. You got me? If I just have a slice and it comes out to be 10, it'll still go to the 10 most available pads. Pretty simple. Next, we have default drum key group filter. And in this case, we're using the low pass 2-pole filter. Also, default plugin. Now, sometimes for a synth and a default plugin synth, mine is set to hybrid. But you can find a synth you like, make sure it works within your MPC software, and use that. Now, we're using a hybrid because that's actually on the machine. But when I use the MPC software, I use a different plugin. I have a lot of different keyboards, you may too, so be aware of that. So next, let's see, that's it, sure. Next we have our project load and save. So here we have auto load files. So for me, I've got a file I'm loading up here, which is in this folder here in my Mac that I will use when my Mac comes on. It'll load that project up because I'm working on that project currently. I want to make sure I turn it on, it loads it up automatically. I got it, I'm done, it's in. You can set your own auto load file here. Of course, you want to press this little magnifying glass, navigate to wherever that file is at, make sure you select it here, and you're good. Once you select that file, you're in. Next, we have auto save. So there's an automatic save within the system too. So I can come to here, I can enable this. Now it will save every 2 minutes. I can come back to here, let's click on this again. And I can come back here, and then I'll make it save every 5 minutes. Now, I prefer saving it every 2 minutes myself, because you never know when you make a mistake or something. So I'll go to here to 1 minute, even's good too. And then you get busy, and you can automatically save what's going on. And then the template would be a file. If I had a template I want to load, or I keep a template there, that'd be the file I have it search for. Now, the next option here in our preferences is record and export. Now, audio recording here, as you can see, is based on bit depth. Our recording bit depth here is 16 bits, right? And I believe you can go to 24 or 16. I prefer to use 16 while I'm in here. Just makes it a little bit easier for me to go to any other platform, so 16 is good. Now, I can also include program volume and pan settings for my audio bounce. So when we're bouncing files, so that means, let's say we got a little song we're doing, and we've got some project and we want to send it to the rapper or singer to listen back to, or someone to get an idea of what they think or how they're going to interact with this particular project. You want to make sure you have this check where it includes the program volume and the panning settings. That way that volume comes straight out the way you made it, and it's the same way. You can bypass program effects and plugins, which I prefer to do. That means you would bypass EQs or bypass a reverb or a delay. No. So this is the setting I normally use for bouncing. Now I would add a audio tail length. And it's in terms of seconds. That's like 1 second here. Now what I could do here, I prefer to have a little length tied to it. This is for track, program, volume. I go to master actually. And the reason why I do that is because I want to make sure that the audio output is going to be the master output. Here, the one tail output end is based on, let's say I have a reverb. The reverb will sustain longer once the music ends. That reverb may still be inside the system and slowly dissipate, right? So as it decays, I want to keep that in the mix also. So I tend to change this here to whatever number of seconds I feel it will take for it to actually dissipate. Next we have our MIDI export. I can MIDI export by track, which is what I keep it at always. And my bounce bit depth here, you'll see, is 16 bits. As you can see, my recording bit depth is 16. I'll keep this 16. Next we have general. Now this is taps. After 3 taps, it'll say, okay, you hit the pad 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I hit it 3 times. Okay, that's the tempo you're going to have. So it'll say these 3 taps equals this tempo. Next, flash, tap, tempo, light. Now I can click this on here right now, and that light's not flashing, which I actually prefer. So I keep mine off. You can do what you want to do. Then we have MIDI audio input. So we have filter all notes off right here, which I don't do. And we can have program changes come in. So I want to keep that. If I have program changes come in, I'll do that. And we have master outputs. And this is for a vintage mode. So here, in our vintage mode for the MPC3, the 60, and the SP12 and the SP12 ring type sounds, they have a vintage mode. And we have the master output. And this is the output the entire machine. So that means it'll give it that kind of effect, which really isn't so great actually. It's just okay, but it doesn't really add anything to the actual track. It just gives this perception that you think it's going to be that way. If you have the original machine, you would see the difference is that the sample engines on the MPC 60 are much dirtier than the ones we have today. So that's why those last. Next we have here is the legal. And this is the legal thing right here about this product contains technologies that are used under license. For more information, please visit here, right? Click that you're going to visit it. And otherwise, that's all our preferences. And I suggest you set yours up according to how you want to use your MPC X.